or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy Tuesday. Happy Hair Day to you, my little buddy.
Hey, Crudy. Happy Tuesday to you. It's a Metal Tuesday. I'm so stoked. I'm going to go see Metallica tonight in Milwaukee. It's been a while since I saw the band, so we're going to have some, interesting music today.
It's just not the same headbanging if you don't have hair. I won't be at Metallica today. You're going? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. You're going?
Yes, absolutely.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
Of course you are.
It's been a while, but yeah, I'm going to go, man. So I'm pretty fired up today, Crudy. I'm ready to talk some politics.
Buddy, I'd say you have the life of Riley, but I would say Riley has the life of Dominic.
Nice. Bill?
Dom, wanted to start with the bill today. We've got a fine guest joining us at the bottom of the hour, my Congressman Mark Pocan. So I want to get right to the big news of the day. And Dom, it's going to happen in our backyard. I mean, what is it? How many days until Election Day from today? It's a Tuesday, Dom. Think about it. I know math on the radio is difficult for you.
I would say either 21 or 14. What's the date today?
You're not at all clear, are you? It's 21 days from today.
There we go. 21 days.
3 weeks from today is Election Day in the state of Wisconsin. And, Dom, I got to think, Wisconsin, as much as any swing state, is the center of the political universe. And as such, there might be some big names coming to town. And this little radio endeavor, Real Resistance Radio, Dom, we have made a big commitment for next Monday, October 22nd. We're going to live broadcast a Bernie Sanders rally. Bernie Sanders coming to the state of Wisconsin. This event that we will broadcast coming from UWM. And this event on behalf of Tammy Baldwin, Tony Evers, Randy Bryce, and Mandela Barnes. Dom, it will be a dim love fest. And that's not the only big event coming to our backyard.
It is going to be fantastic next week. This is one of the wonderful things about having Real Resistance Radio here in Milwaukee. Who else is going to cover this? Nobody. None of the righties are going to be out there. We're going to go. We're going to bring the speeches live. Doors open at UW Milwaukee at the Student Union, the Wisconsin Room. Doors open at 8 a.m. We'll start the broadcast at 9:30. We'll bring the speeches live. It's radio. We'll bring the speeches live, give you an opportunity to hear what they have to say. And, of course, it is an early voting rally. You can bring your ID, and you can vote on campus.
Well, Dom, I love me some Bernie Sanders. Feel the burn, feel the burn, feel the burn. But there are some other luminaries I would just as much like to see come campaigning in our backyard. Bill Glauber writes, and I'm going to quote from this article liberally, "They come to Wisconsin to fire up crowds, raise cash for candidates, in more than a few cases to raise their own political profiles." You know how you do that? You come on the Devil's Advocates radio show.
It helps.
They're the political surrogates, national politicians who swoop in to offer a helping hand to friends and political allies in hard-fought races. And in the closing weeks of the midterm election, they'll make their presence felt in the Badger State. There's a lot on the state's political plate, with a tight race for governor between Republican incumbent Scotty Wanker and Democrat Tony Evers, a U.S. Senate contest between incumbent Tammy Baldwin and Leah Vukmer, Nurse Ratchet I prefer, and several close races in the House and for Attorney General. Some of the appearances are already scheduled. Others remain on the wish list. Oh, I've been good, Dom. I want big surrogates for election time. Kamala Harris. Senator Harris, a Democrat, U.S. Senator from California, will come to Madison in Milwaukee this Sunday for a get-out-the-vote event for the Democratic ticket. Now, I would point out to all the fine Packer fans in the audience, there is no Packer game. We're on the bye week. Get your ass out there and do some political rallying. The Harris 2020 presidential campaign buzz is building. Appearing at a June rally for Baldwin in Milwaukee, someone shouted to Harris, "Run for president." Harris responded, "Thank you, but I'm here for Tammy, much like you're here for me, Dom."
You know it, man. And Bernie Sanders here for all of us. The independent U.S. Senator from Vermont and 2016 presidential candidate Sanders has already campaigned here in this cycle for Baldwin and first congressional Democratic candidate Randy Bryce.
And if nobody noticed, Real Resistance Radio, we broadcast that event live as well. We were broadcasting live at the last Bernie rally.
Anybody who's paying attention, they notice. As we mentioned, he returns on Monday for two events, a morning early vote rally for the Democratic ticket at the UW Milwaukee campus, and an afternoon event with Bryce and the Working Families Party in Kenosha. Another one, Crudy, the retiring Speaker Paul Ryan. We know he's a Wisconsin guy, but he's trying to cement his legacy by keeping the House majority and helping his close friends, Walker and Vukmir. The Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives from Janesville and former vice presidential candidate isn't on the ballot, but he's hitting 12 states in the midterms as he tries to help Republicans hold on to their House majority. He's expected to finish the campaign with a bus tour of Wisconsin. Watch out for those roads, Paul. He'll support candidates up and down the ballot, including Republican hoping to succeed him in the House, Brian Style.
Dominic, what about the big cheese? The POTUS, hashtag not my POTUS.
Oh, you know he's coming, man. He never misses Wisconsin.
You think Donald Trump will come to town?
I absolutely do.
Will we broadcast that rally live, Dom?
God, I hope not. I mean,
time permitted.
Well,
time
right. And, circumstances, perhaps. I mean, come on, man. We've seen so many of these rallies. And if anyone's going to talk about mob rule, come on. If you haven't been to a Trump rally, you don't know what mob is like.
Will you bring me with you for protection?
Yeah, Brian, you are certainly coming.
When they start shaking their fist and saying crooked fake news media, Brian, there's no one I'd rather have on my side than you. Donald Trump. Buddy. Vice President Mike Pence has already been in the state to hold fundraisers for Vukmir and Walker. During his most recent appearance, early October stops in Green Bay and Eau Claire, Pence said that President Donald Trump will be on the campaign trail in Wisconsin. What do you think, Waukesha? The state was crucial to Trump's win in 2016, and he has visited it repeatedly since. The last time in June to participate in the groundbreaking for the Fox We Got Conned Technology Group facility in Mount Pleasant. The key decision, where's the best place to deploy Trump in Wisconsin? During his 2016 win in the state over Hillary Clinton, Trump performed strongly outstate, so a visit to either Green Bay or Warsaw wouldn't be out of the question, buddy.
Well, Crudy, I mean, I remember seeing Trump, right downtown Milwaukee, West Bend.
He claimed he was in Milwaukee. We saw him at Waukesha. We saw him in Green Bay. We saw him in South Bend, Indiana. We saw him at the RNC. We saw him at his inauguration, although you got a few raindrops on your head. And we left early.
Hey, they gave out free joints that day. Also, Crudy, Joe Biden, the former vice president, stepping up campaigning for the midterms and is likely to be in Wisconsin before the end of October. A recent CNN poll showed Biden leading a crowded Democratic presidential field. Whether the Democratic convention comes to Milwaukee in 2020, for Democrats, the road to the White House is going to go through Wisconsin. During his book tour, Promise Me, Dad, Biden appeared in both Madison and Milwaukee. And Cory Booker, the Democratic U.S. Senator from New Jersey, no stranger to campaigning in Wisconsin, making frequent appearances over the years, including for Baldwin.
And he's appeared on this fine program as well.
He's likely to be back before Election Day, a potential 2020 presidential runner. Booker has already made a high-profile speech in Iowa, Crute.
But, Dominic, you know what I want for election Christmas this year?
What do you want, man?
I want me some Barack Obama on the ground in the Badger State. For Democrats, he is the biggest catch on the campaign trail, and top party leaders have asked for him to come to Wisconsin and are awaiting his schedule. Obama has been picking his campaign spots, although he endorsed numerous candidates, including in Wisconsin. In 2014, he made a late campaign stop for Mary Burke in her run for governor. Now, I got to admit, Dom, I do not recall that event. When did Obama come to town for Mary Burke?
I don't know, man. You know me. I don't recall either.
Now, the event I do recall is the event that never happened. Obama was supposed to campaign for Hillary Clinton in Green Bay in 2016, but the event was called off because of the shooting at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida. Dom, we should have had the president and Hillary Clinton. That would have been a hell of a rally. He never came, and of course, she never came back.
Mm-hmm.
Dom, the Midwest, were obviously occupants, residents of the Great Badger State. But the entire Midwest turned for Trump. This used to be the blue wall. The state of Wisconsin was the blue wall, buddy. And somehow it turned into a Trump-red state right here in the great state of Wisconsin. Well, I want to go there next. We'll take our first break of the day right now. We are the Devil's Advocates. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio. You can always join us here, 844-967-2789. What do you got, little buddy?
Crudy, I just got to say, looking at this list compiled by Bill Glauber at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, you know who's missing?
Who? Jesus?
I don't see Hillary Clinton on the circuit.
What happened?
What happened?
She came by on her book tour, Dom. I understand she and the former president, Bill Clinton, are going on something of an intimate event
stadium tour.
Yeah, something like that. But no, I don't see Hillary Clinton on the list. And, perhaps this is not the election cycle for her to come by and say, hey, how's Wisconsin been? I'm back. I'm here. Folks, Devil's Advocates, phone lines open and toll-free for you. You can text us. You can call us. That number, 844-967-2789. Who's on your wish list? Who do you hope comes campaigning around the state of Wisconsin? And if they do, Dom, I got to tell you, if they don't come through the studios on Brady Street, if they don't come up here on Real Resistance Radio, and that includes you, Donald Trump, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to get the word out. They don't know how to get the vaunted Devil's Advocates bump. Come back with us. More Devils.
What's been going on while I've been gone?
Hey, what happened?
So, do you come to Milwaukee often?
Hi, my name is Shantae, your local Hyatt pharmacist. With more than 10 locations here in the Milwaukee area, we're here to simplify your lives one script at a time. With free delivery to your home or work, where all your medications are brought together in one convenient dosage packaged, individualized to your daily medication regimen. We set up in-house calls with the licensed pharmacist to assist in medication management. We accept all insurance plans. To learn more about Hyatt, visit us at our website, HAYATRX.com.
JWK Management has many apartments available on the east side of Milwaukee. Currently, there's an opening just above Campali Restaurant overlooking historic Brady Street. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath with 1,500 square feet, a large kitchen, pantry, and main living space. Free washer and dryer in the building and off-street parking is available. For more information, call 608-729-1810. For your new apartment, call 608-729-1810.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Tom Perez, chair of the Democratic National Committee. Scott Walker went on something of a Twitter storm, very Trumpian. What do you think this foretells for Scott Walker's future as the governor of the state of Wisconsin?
Wisconsinites have woken up. He talked about we need an optimistic message. How can you make people feel optimistic when you take away their health care? How can you make people optimistic when you take away the right to bargain? How can you make people feel optimistic when you're gerrymandering the heck out of districts?
Radio for the 99%. Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Real Resistance Radio, streaming on the YouTube and Facebook pages. We're on Twitter at Devil Radio on the party line. Talk or text, always open at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I teased the Jennifer Rubin piece, the conservative columnist at the Washington Post. Trump's grip on the Midwest was illusory, like an illusion, Dom. I had to look the word up, make sure I knew the right definition.
Well done, sir.
In the wake of the 2016 presidential election, political insiders talked about a permanent realignment of the political map. After years in the blue column, the Rust Belt and Upper Midwest, we're now going to move towards Republicans, we were told. Older white working-class voters were easy pickings for President Trump's brand of politics, built on resentment and aimed at retaliation against urban elites, immigrants, and globalization itself. Well, it worked once with the seriously flawed Democratic presidential nominee, and only barely a shift of fewer than 80,000 votes in 3 states would have spared us from the entire Trumpian ordeal. I read on from Jennifer Rubin's piece. The 2016 results nevertheless prompted Democrats to agonize over their failure to represent the interests of white working-class voters, especially men. Should they dump cultural issues, maybe they too should start talking about putting the brakes on immigration. It seems that the freakout was unnecessary and overwrought. The GOP's grip on formerly blue states was illusory. Democratic Senate candidate incumbents in Ohio, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, all states won by Trump, now appear solid favorites for re-election. Ronald Brownstein writes, the party is favored for governorships in Michigan and Pennsylvania, and locked in close races in Wisconsin, Ohio, and Ohio, the 5th Midwestern state key to Trump's 2016 victory. And it could pick up as many as 4 House seats combined in Iowa and Michigan. What about Wisconsin? He surmises that Trump appears to have suffered genuine erosion among working-class white women, largely because of his attempt to appeal the Affordable Care Act, in a sense among many that the improved national economy hasn't provided them appreciably more security. If that crack in Trump's armor persists to 2020, it would arguably provide the single most important advance for Democrats in the midterm election. Several other factors are likely at play. First, we cannot stress enough that Hillary Clinton simply was not an option for many voters. It's why Trump keeps bringing her up almost 2 years after she lost. Kind of like you, Dom. The Republicans' supposed inroads in the Midwest were, in fact, just as much a rejection of Clinton personally and as a representative of the Washington status quo. The voters who switched from President Barack Obama to Trump in the Midwest might have been misguided in their expectations for Trump, but their votes had an internal consistency. They hate professional politicians, and they feel that the global economy has left them behind. Remove Clinton and find some solid candidates, especially first-time candidates, and Democrats are back in the game, I tell you, Dom.
Second, Crudy, Trump's populism was a canard from the get-go, and now it's obvious even to those who supported him in 2016. When you pass tax cuts for the rich, propose cutting Medicaid, support repeal of the ACA that would hit rural communities hardest, inflict tariffs, and defend an administration rife with corruption, good luck trying to convince working-class voters that you're on their side. Democrats bet bread and butter economic appeal, which works for white working-class voters as well for suburbanites and urbanites, worked for Obama and can still resonate with many voters. Third, Trump's misogyny and male grievance crusade come with a cost. Republicans face a problem not just from Democratic and independent women who have been energized, but also from women who are no longer Republican. E.J. Graff writes, quote, fewer and fewer American women identify as Republicans, and that slow migration is speeding up under Trump. Trump's election put this gender shift on steroids, Democratic pollster Anna Greenberg says. According to Pew, the share of American voters, women voters who identify with or lean toward the Republican Party has dropped 3 percentage points since 2015 from 40 to 37%, after having been essentially unchanged from 2010 through 2014. By 2017, just 25% of American women fully identified as Republicans. That means when we say 84% of Republican women say they approve of Trump and his actions, or 69% of Republican women say they support Kavanaugh, or 64% say they like Trump, don't find Ford very credible. Those percentages represent a small and shrinking slice of American women. In short, without adopting spurious positions like limiting legal immigration or abandoning support for traditional issues, gun safety and women's rights, Democrats seem poised to win back what they lost in the Midwest in 2016. The lesson they should take away is simple. Get good candidates and articulate an effective economic message. This really isn't rocket science. Really, it's not, Crudy.
Jennifer Rubin writes at the Washington Post, a fine conservative columnist. We quote her often. You can always join us here on the Big Show, 844-967-2789. Don, do we have callers?
Let's get to it. Chris from Sun Prairie, a couple minutes for you. What do you got for us?
Hey, Chris.
Hi. Well, I'm going to be uncharacteristically non-political. I just wanted to file a grievance. I know it's not Friday, but why does Dom get to have all the fun?
What do you mean?
Someone's got to be the responsible one, and someone gets to be Peter Pan, and Dom is our Peter Pan.
Someone's got to drive, and it ain't me.
Well, I'm so jealous of you going to see Metallica tonight. I would love to be at that show.
Thanks, Chris.
When you hear Nothing Else Matters, think of Jerry and I, because that's our song.
I will certainly do so. Thanks so much, Chris. It's going to be. Thanks so much. It's going to be a blast. I cannot wait. You know, it's been some time since I've seen Metallica. I actually did security way back in the day when they were touring for like the Black album in La Crosse and Madison.
What were you, like a drug-sniffing little person?
No, man. They had the snake pit. So in the stage back then, they had an inset where the VIPs could come in and be literally on the stage, and that was my spot. I mean, it was not hard work, and I got to see most of the shows, so you're not really working security too hard. But today, I will not be doing security. I will be jamming. I will be doing some head banging and beer drinking. Of course, we're all getting older now. I'll try not to hurt myself.
Security? I'm not thinking you were capable of doing much damage at any age. How young you might have been, how in shape you might think you were, buddy.
Hey, it's all about presence.
What would you secure precisely? Here, Perry guy, hold my drugs.
I had Lauscher on one side and the other dude on the other, man. It was easy.
Was that Marisola?
Sol on one side, Lauscher on the other. That's right.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Congressman Mark Pocan, our fine guest.
But especially the women made me feel good.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
5-9, your local IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off at school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Looking for a job worth talking about? Teaching is creative, collaborative, and intellectually challenging. See why teachers have better work stories at teachdfw.org and learn more about becoming a teacher. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
Here's how you get them. If someone invites you for a cocktail, you bring them beer. If someone invites you to dinner, you bring a casserole. That's how you make friends. That's the Wisconsin way.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
I'm Andy Buck, Field Representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by skilled workers who care about safety, training, and finishing strong. Workers who are reliable and ready on demand. Let IUPAT provide the people power that you need. You'll feel confident the job is finished right. Connect at IUPATDC7.com and finish strong.
The Resistance is live 7 days a week here on Real Resistance Radio. Tune in Sundays for Meet the Press with Chuck Todd from 11 a.m. to noon. Then it's the Best of the Forum with Sherwin Hughes from 12 to 3 p.m. And Citizen Action's Battleground Wisconsin rages from 3 to 4 p.m. Get your groove on with Stu Man PM, Politics and Music 4 to 6 p.m. with Stu Daniels. Mandatory listening, always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted. The Milwaukee Common Council voted today to override Mayor Tom Barrett's veto of a measure to create an inspector general. Barrett had explained previously that he vetoed the watchdog measure over concerns that the position could be used as political interference. The veto override went through with a vote of 10-3, with Alderperson Milele Coggs abstaining. The council initially created the post to oversee the health department as it struggled with the childhood lead poisoning prevention program. Forecast for Milwaukee, mostly sunny and windy, highs in the mid-50s. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 35. Wednesday, sunshine, 47 degrees. Thursday, sunny with a high of 53 degrees. For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Where do I take this pain of mine?
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we welcome back a fine guest and my congressman, our friend Mark Pocan. Mark, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
So, Mark, I got to ask you, sir, are you in campaign mode? Are you out, sir, getting for Democratic friends? You out trying to run your own campaign, or are you in D.C. at this point?
The first two. Doing a lot of work around the upper Midwest, helping out people trying to get win back the House of Representatives, and then helping in Wisconsin. I'll be doing an event at 5 o'clock in Baraboo with Mandela Barnes. So just getting around doing a little bit of everything.
Now, Mark, I got to ask you, we just read a Jennifer Rubin piece at the Washington Post. Rubin implies that the once upon a time, the blue wall that was the industrial upper Midwest, including the state of Wisconsin, obviously by a very small margin, Mark, we saw it turn to Donald Trump. She suggests sort of a financially driven message, a kitchen table.
People realized they were sold a bill of goods from Donald Trump. You know, he talked a good game, talked about bringing jobs back, talked about a lot of things that, again, were those kitchen table issues. Hillary Clinton never showed up, want him to run for re-election. They're not satisfied. That the culture of corruption that
the economy's fairly strong. Are people giving credit to the Trump tax cuts? Are people bragging about their take-home pay that they've seen augmented by these tax cuts? Do you think it's any sort of electoral issue? I thought Republicans were going to run on this piece.
You know, they're hiding from that tax cut they did for the wealthy. I mean, it is pretty amazing. Because, you know, let's face it. I mean, you know, Paul Ryan, to his credit, will make probably 20 times his congressional salary, probably as a rainmaker for a lobbying firm, because he delivered for his corporate masters. He delivered a giant tax cut for corporations for the top 1%. 83% of the money will go to them in 10 years. And but it's not very popular at election time. But you know what? Paul's going to be able to move on up and get a nice house. So I think.
Now, Mark, I saw Nate Silver quoted earlier today in some piece, but Nate Silver said effectively there's an 80% chance that the House turns blue. But, Mark, according to my math, that means there's a 20% chance that Republicans retain control of the House. Mark, how can we make sure that this blue wave, or at least a blue House, happens sometime on November 7th, sir?
Yeah, so, you know, it's all about get out the vote. They've got the money. Ryan's Super PAC is running a bunch of really highly negative false ads across the country. They have lots and lots of financial resources from a lot of rich people, but we've got the real people and the issues that we stand for, they stand for. So as long as we can get people out to vote, we will win. It is as simple as that. They simply don't have the ground game. We do, but that means everyone has to do their part to make sure that we're getting people to vote early and vote on Election Day, November 6th.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio. Congressman Mark Pocan joins us on the phone. Congressman, I want to ask you about this deficit. I used to hear all these fiscal conservatives whine about the deficit. Now, fiscal year ending September 30th, 2018, we have a, $779 billion deficit. Senator McConnell says it's very disturbing, but here's what I have an issue with, Mark. Quote, I think it's pretty safe to say that entitlement changes, which is the real driver of the debt by any objective standard, may well be difficult, if not impossible, to achieve when you have unified government. What's your take on this? I see a lot of Republicans talking about, rolling back some of these food subsidies and health insurance. I mean, they're going to put millions of kids at risk, and yet they never reference the lack of revenue being generated by these tax cuts that they were going to run on, Mark.
Well, don't forget, Paul Ryan's master plan has been two steps. First step was to cut taxes for his wealthy friends, and the second was to privatize Social Security and voucherize Medicare. So, days after they passed that giant tax cut for the wealthy and for big corporations, he literally had the guts to say, oh, my God, we're starting to grow debt again. We're going to have to go after entitlement, which, according to almost everyone I know, is money we've paid into our entire life into Social Security and Medicare. So, this is their way to try to change the country for their donor base. And, I think people really realize that. They've heard it enough. They know that, that bill was not for them, the tax bill, and they know that the Republicans are not going to protect Social Security and Medicare. And, we've got some work to do on that. I mean, we probably need to lift that cap on Social Security to give it a longer life. I would even argue we should increase benefits for seniors because the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, is not geared towards what seniors spend their money on. But, Paul Ryan, if he had his way, Wall Street would make a lot of money and a bunch of seniors would be opening up cans of dog food.
Mark, I saw Governor Walker here in the state of Wisconsin so earnestly look into a camera recently, he must have been on a bus, and talk about how he's so concerned about pre-existing conditions. His wife's diabetic, his mother had breast cancer, his brother's got a heart problem. I'm not clear what he did before the Affordable Care Act to do anything to address pre-existing conditions. He talks the game like he wants to make sure people are covered, but yet at the same time engages in lawsuits that would deny coverage or at least protections for those with pre-existing conditions. It seems like they're playing this dual game. They talk to the camera like they're very earnest and want to help people, but their actions speak otherwise. What should people believe, Mark?
So the pre-existing condition that Scott Walker cares about is the pre-existing condition of him being governor, and he would like to remain with that condition. So I do agree that is the one pre-existing condition he is gravely concerned about. But if he actually cared about pre-existing conditions, there's one very, very simple prove he can do, which is drop out of the lawsuit that he and Brad Schimel are doing that will jeopardize everyone's coverage for pre-existing conditions. And if he doesn't do that, then he's not walking the walk. But I truly believe he is concerned about at least one pre-existing condition, and that's his own.
My Congressman, Mark Pocan, live via phone. Mark, Scott Walker also reportedly today, and I'm quoting Politico, is hiding his Medicaid bad intent. He has petitioned the Trump administration for the right to stick it to Medicaid recipients in a number of ways, Mark. And even the Trump administration thought some of Scott Walker's ideas were a little too harsh, things like drug testing Medicaid recipients. But, Mark, now that we understand the Trump administration has signed off on most of Scott Walker's stick it to the Medicaid recipients wish list, now the governor is failing to roll out his proposal. Apparently, Mark, he thinks it's bad politics 3 weeks before an election.
Yeah, I just would, if he gets reelected, wait till November 7th and 8th, right? I mean, he's got a lot of pent-up aggression that he's going to do. And, let's face it, he's one of the few governors that did not expand Medicaid. Plenty of other Republican governors knew it was in the best interest of their state's constituents. But, again, Scott Walker, worried about his own pre-existing condition, saw that, the way he raises big money from Sheldon Adelson and the Koch brothers and a whole bunch of other wealthy people is to pick on low-income people. And that's exactly what he's trying to do with the changes to Medicaid. So, be real careful. If anyone's thinking about voting for Scott Walker because they think he has them in their best interest, boy, there are so many things you could go down a list where he will hurt you, whether it be health care if you're a potential recipient of Medicaid, to the crappy roads that you get the pleasure of paying more at your auto body and auto repair place, to everything else that he hasn't done right for the state.
Well, Scott Walker, every time we've got an election year, it's like he becomes a different creature, this more moderate, more Democratic-friendly governor, but Mark, all we have to do is look at his record, and he often doesn't run on his intentions. Scott Walker never campaigned on Act 10. Scott Walker never campaigned on rolling out right to work immediately following his reelection in 2014. Well, we know what he promises on the campaign trail never resembles his actual governance, Mark. Why, A, should people ever trust electioneer Scott Walker? And B, what sort of dastardly deeds do you think the man would drop on the state of Wisconsin if reelected?
Well, he'll find more ways to cut taxes for his donors, because that's what Republicans often do after a campaign. And, of course, that means all the rest of us are going to have to pay for that. So, I think we've seen his playbook. He'll probably on November 7th, get on the plane in Madison, maybe fly up to Baraboo. Maybe he'll go over to Reedsburg on the jet. He's not going to go on the roads with his car. It just costs too much damage. But, we're going to get the old Scott Walker back real quick. And, the good news is I really think people have him figured out. It's as simple as saying he's been governor for 8 years, and we have the second worst roads in the country. We're fighting for money for education, and not enough people have access to health care in our state. Period. It's really that simple, and I think people, again, in Wisconsin who aren't Democrats or Republicans look at that and say, you've had 8 years, you couldn't do the job, it's time for someone else to take a turn.
Well, Mark, we've been taking our turns at Walker bashing nearly every day on this radio show, all the way back to 2012. And some would say we've got Walker derangement syndrome, and now we've been accused of having Trump derangement syndrome. But, Mark, I got to ask you about the tone. I think we're simply calling these bad politicians out on their bad governance, but our tone, sometimes I get a little personal, Mark. I insult the men. Mark, what do you think about tone? What is the appropriate tone? It seems like we Democrats take the high ground, and the Republicans kick us right in the you-know-what.
Well, let's face it. Under Donald Trump, he is tone deaf, right? From every tweet he makes to everything he says, this has been the most unpresidential president that I can remember in my lifetime. So, we can do what we all too often do, is always try to fix problems and, have good philosophical debates about public policy, or we can kind of call them out for what they're doing. When they pass a tax bill where 83% of the money is going to the top 1% in big corporations, and days later they tell us we have to go after Social Security and Medicare because we have a debt problem, that deserves the strongest possible terms, because it's real life and death. I just moved my 89-year-old mother into assisted living this weekend. I'm actually driving back from taking her to the doctor there today. And there's a lot of low-income seniors who live in that building, and I watch what they live on. And when you compare it to the people that they're giving the tax cuts to, it makes me all the more enthused to talk out very loudly about the actions they're taking and why they're doing it. And, in Donald Trump's case, it's to, make more money for his family and his family's businesses. And Scott Walker, wants to be president desperately. We need to call them out, and I don't think we should hold much back.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. That's Congressman Mark Pocan on the phone. Mark, I got a couple more questions. Want to follow up. ICE did some raids in Wisconsin, quite a few actually, across the state. Several weeks ago, I know you had reached out. You had conversations with ICE. Where do we stand? What do we know about those raids?
Yeah, nothing. I had them in my office Thursday after. It was the most frustrating conversation I've had with any federal agency representative in my 6 years in Congress. They couldn't even give me an answer if there's an office in Madison. And they told me at the end of the thing they're 99% sure. The next day I said, that one you can get back to me in one day. They got back to me and said no. And then I found out since then they use the office space at the U.S. Attorney's Office. So they also aren't exactly telling me the truth, just like when they didn't notify local law enforcement that they were doing the raid. So we've asked a bunch of questions. They will give us no answers. In fact, most of the time it's been the opposite. They've actually misdirected us, and to most people that's called a lie. They've lied to us. So last Friday, for the first time in my 6 years in Congress, I had to file a Freedom of Information Act request to a federal agency because they won't cooperate with someone who has oversight over them.
So I guess it's a hurry up and wait. One other issue, Mark, internationally here, the disappearance of this Washington Post contributor, Khashoggi. I know I've seen some tweets that you have on that you and some of your colleagues are concerned. What do we know about that? What do you expect Congress to do if the president doesn't act? I mean, looking at the television today, it looks like everyone thinks just hunky-dory over in Riyadh. But what would you like to see done on this case, Mark?
Well, I think a lot of us have a huge concern that the president, again, because of personal, financial, business reasons, is cozying a little too closely up with the prince in Saudi Arabia, and not to deal with what we need to, which is an American resident. It appears from all the intelligence that we're getting from Turkish officials was killed at the Saudi Arabian embassy, and Donald Trump is providing cover at this point for the Saudi prince, and that's not getting to the bottom of the truth and what happened. And our concern is that, don't forget the first country that Donald Trump visited when he was president was not Canada like most presidents. It was Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of money to be made for the Trump family in Saudi Arabia, like Russia. We've watched this over and over, and I'm hopeful that it's just a coincidence, but I'm fearful that Donald Trump will not do the due diligence necessary to make sure that we don't have an American resident killed overseas and have our country do absolutely nothing.
Mark Pocan, fine Congressman, our friend Mark, as we wrap this up, I got to ask you, we're talking about surrogates coming to the state of Wisconsin on behalf of the Democratic ticket. Tammy Baldwin, Tony Evers, Randy Bryce. I know Bernie Sanders is coming to town. We know Senator Kamala Harris coming to town. You're doing a little campaigning yourself, sir. But what about the big cheese? What about Barack Obama? Mark, do you know anyone? Do you have any sway? How do you get Barack Obama campaigning on behalf of the Democratic ticket, I'd say right here in Milwaukee, sir?
Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of conversations going on. I know Joe Biden also is in conversation. So I think, we're going to have lots of opportunities in the next few weeks. All I care about is whoever we bring is talking to the audiences that may not always vote. And that includes, good campus activities and a lot of other activities as well. So, it's really incumbent on all of us. You can have a celebrity come in and we'll spend lots of hours to have them come and talk at us for a half hour. But what really matters is when we knock on doors of our friends and neighbors and convince them to get out and vote because we know they agree with us in the issues, that is the single best way to win elections. So it's always fun to have a photo op, but it's actually better if you win elections by getting your neighbors to vote.
Mark Pocan, our good buddy. Look forward to seeing you real soon, Mark. Our best to your mom.
Hey,
thank you for joining us on the show today, sir.
Of course, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open right now, toll free, 844-967-2789.
I'm really proud of what we've been able to do.
Save Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security without cuts.
I want to thank the President of the United States for his steadfast leadership.
Hey everyone, it's your nominee for Lieutenant Governor, Mandela Barnes. I know I don't need to tell you what's at stake with this election, but I want to talk to you about my friend and running mate, Tony Evers. Now, I've gotten to know Tony over the last couple months as we've crisscrossed the state. I've seen his resolve and his dedication to solving the problems Wisconsin faces, especially when it comes to access to quality, affordable health care, protecting our environment, and making sure that every kid in Wisconsin has a great public school, regardless of their zip code. But Tony and I can't win this election alone. We need your help to talk to those that might still be on the fence. So whatever you can do will help. Knock on doors, talk to your neighbors, talk to your family. When we're fighting to take back the state from Scott Walker and the special interests, every little bit helps. You can make the difference in this election. So visit TonyEvers.com and sign up to help. It's time for a change. And that's why Tony for Wisconsin paid for this ad.
Listen to the words of the Reverend Willie Briscoe.
Scripture tells us in Luke 17:3-4, if your brother or sister sins against you, rebuke them, and if they repent, forgive them. Those words are so important to our community because we know that men and women who have served time in jail must be given an opportunity to rebuild their lives. That's why we should be thankful that our Senator, Tammy Baldwin, had sponsored the Ban the Box bill, so when someone seeks a job, they do not have to check a box that says they've been in jail on their initial job application, so they can be judged on their character. And the best way for us to thank Tammy Baldwin is to get out and vote, because sitting on the sidelines is not an option if we care about our community.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, candidate for Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Tammy Baldwin for Senate.
Kicking ass and taking names since the Wisconsin Uprising, Dom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Real Resistance Radio, streaming on YouTube and Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the party line's always open for our friends and foes. 844-967-2789.
Dominic, want to thank one of our besties, Congressman Mark Pocan. He has been a consistent, a regular guest, and a good one, and a good friend of this product, the anti-Donald Trump front overnight. And we reported it towards the end of yesterday's show. A judge threw out the defamation lawsuit of Stormy Daniels against the President of the United States. Apparently full vindication for the Trumpster. And the newly vindicated Trump out there this morning tweeting some shade at Stormy Daniels, was he not?
He was. Let's first hear what the judge had to say. This from Elise Viebeck from last night, as once again in the Washington Post, throwing out Stormy Daniels' defamation lawsuit, claimed that Trump defamed her when he suggested she lied about being threatened to keep quiet about their alleged relationship. U.S. District Judge S. James Autoro in Los Angeles ruled Trump's speech was protected by the First Amendment as the kind of rhetorical hyperbole normally associated with politics and public discourse in the United States. He ordered Daniels, whose name is Clifford, to pay Trump's legal fees. So, the good news is, Crudy, if we talk and act like Trump in this regard, it's just nothing more than rhetorical hyperbole. So, where does the conversation go from here?
Horsey McHorseface.
Isn't that how Trump referenced his former mistress? Called her Horseface. Now, not a very nice thing to do, all in all.
Are you surprised? Are you shocked? You know that the names he has called people over the years, especially women? I mean, this guy is the biggest ass there is. And I can say that because, of course, it's rhetorical hyperbole.
I don't want to beat a dead horse.
Well, I don't think in this case, Tom, it would be rhetorical hyperbole. Now, I did see an excellent meme on the interwebs. I believe it was on Facebook. Black China, big old booty. Kim Kardashian, big old booty. And then you see a picture of Donald Trump in his tennis shorts. And the question is, Kanye's got a type, right?
Yeah, he sure does.
Anyways, I'm going to reference an article, this one at the USA Today, celebrating a court victory over porn star Stormy Daniels. President Donald Trump on Tuesday called his alleged former Pomodoro horseface and suggested he may take legal action against her. Great, now I can go after horseface and her third-rate lawyer in the great state of Texas. Trump tweeted, along with a Fox News story about his legal victory, "She will confirm the letter she signed. She knows nothing about me, a total con." Trump crowed a day after a federal judge in California dismissed a defamation lawsuit that the adult film actress filed against Trump for calling her a con job in a Twitter post earlier this year. In threatening legal action against Daniels and her lawyer, Michael Abante, Trump apparently cited Texas because Daniels has a residence there. Historically, Trump often does not follow through on his threats, but here's what Stormy Daniels had to say in response. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I present your president? In addition to his shortcomings, he has demonstrated his incompetence, hatred of women, lack of self-control on Twitter." Again, Daniels wrote, "and perhaps a penchant for bestiality." Game on, Tiny. Game on, Tiny. Come back with us. Me and Tiny Dom after this short break.
Come on, you stupid horse! I got my last $10 on you!
The one thing we know, and they do say, anybody that runs against Trump suffers. That's the way it should be.
No, sir, I didn't like it.
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamster Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in the former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern. You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Not believing. Hurricane deaths. I'm Mike Moss. The ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, isn't believing the theory that Saudi rogue elements were responsible for the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
This is actually not some dark room or off some dark deserted road. This is inside the Saudi consulate, and 15 individuals coming over from Saudi Arabia for what at least appears to be one task only, and that was the elimination of Mr. Khashoggi.
President Trump says it would be bad if he learns that either the Saudi king or Crown Prince knew about the killing. Correspondent Barbara Starr reports Secretary of State Mike Pompeo spoke face-to-face with the royal family today.
Pompeo held a brief first meeting with the elderly King Salman and then the Crown Prince, the de facto ruler of the kingdom. Pompeo flew over 12 hours for less than 1 hour of discussions. The State Department called the meetings direct and candid.
Officials say 16 people died in Florida because of Hurricane Michael. That doubles the numbers of deaths in the state. At the same time, they've begun to wind down the search for possible survivors. Mexico Beach Council member Linda Albrecht says it will take a long time to recover.
We encourage people to not forget about us. We're tiny, but don't forget about us, because we have a long road ahead of us. They're saying 12 to 18 months before infrastructure is here.
The revolving door of USA Gymnastics top leadership keeps spinning as the organization struggles to recover from the Larry Nassar scandal. Less than a week after taking over USA Gymnastics, Former Congresswoman Mary Bono has resigned as interim president. On Wall Street, earnings today fueled a 2% gain for the Dow. The Dow closed up 547. S&P up 59. The Nasdaq was up 214. The best day on Wall Street since March. I'm Mike Moss.
I'm Andy Buck, Field Representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by skilled workers who care about safety, training, and finishing strong. Workers who are reliable and ready on demand. Let IUPAT provide the people power that you need. You'll feel confident the job is finished right. Connect at IUPATDC7.com and finish strong.
The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes, exclusively on Real Resistance Radio. Call in live at 844-967-2789 and give your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on local and national topics. Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. It will not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know. That's The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes on Real Resistance Radio. Always streaming live on realresistanceradio.com.
Flu season is underway, and public health officials are hoping it won't be as bad as last year.
Last year was the worst flu season since the swine flu outbreak in 2009. In the U.S., more than 80,000 people died after contracting the flu. Most were over the age of 65. Here in New York, 23,000 people were hospitalized with the flu last year. This year, public officials are urging people to get the flu vaccination as soon as possible. While last year's vaccine was not very effective against the strain that was going around, this year's vaccine does target the strain that seems to be prevalent. Australia just completed its flu season, and it was a mild one. The strain that was going around in that country is included in this year's vaccine. Steve Kastenbaum, New York.
Austin, Texas has temporarily banned all boating along the city's waterways as heavy rain and flooding create dangerous conditions. The ban in effect till Thursday, which is when rainfall is forecast to stop.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like.
Everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
I'm jumping in with my clothes on.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted. 2 months ago, candidate for governor Tony Evers proposed restoring the state's commitment to cover 2/3 of public school costs. Scott Walker thinks it's such a good idea, he's now proposing the same thing. Walker mentioned the proposal on a conservative radio show yesterday, but did not say how much it would cost or how he would pay for it. The election is 3 weeks from today. To get more information on voting, go to myvote.wi.gov. The City of Milwaukee is looking for people to work at the polls on Election Day. For more information on that, go to city.milwaukee.gov/help-Milwaukee-vote. The Ramada Hotel at 6th and Michigan in downtown Milwaukee has closed for good. Marquette University now owns the property and plans to demolish the 7-story building. The school also owns several properties adjacent to that site. For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Keith Gosted.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to
myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dom, want to raise the discourse, perhaps, in this hour on this fine program.
I don't know if I believe you, Mike.
Come on, I've got a believable face made for radio. We ended the last hour. Stormy Daniels tweeting at President Trump. Trump called her a horse face.
Horsey McHorse face.
I would remind the president you had sex with her and you paid her $130,000 for her silence. And apparently she spanked you with the magazine that you appeared on the cover of and outed you for having a tiny little Trump toadstool penis. Apparently that's also been disclosed in her book. What was her book? Full Disclosure, Dom. Well, calling him tiny is one way that Stormy Daniels could insult the President of the United States, if you believe in such, a lowbrow tone, Dom. But I know a way to really insult the President of the United States, and I've got it for you right now. You in the audience, Dom. 60 Minutes interview draws fewer viewers than Stormy Daniels.
Oh, boom!
Stormy beat Trump at the ratings, Dom. That's got to sting a little.
They call me the ratings machine.
Emily Birnbaum at thehill.com. President Trump's recent interview with CBS's 60 Minutes drew significantly fewer viewers than adult film star Stormy Daniels' interview on the program in the spring, during which she discussed her alleged affair with the tiny penis president. Trump's interview on the show, which aired on Sunday, attracted 11.7 million viewers. That seems like a lot, Dom, until you compare it with the 22.1 million viewers who turned into Daniels' interview in March, according to the Associated Press. Trump's got bad ratings, #sad. Daniels, at the time, made national headlines as she recounted her alleged 2006 affair with Trump, claiming the president's longtime former lawyer, fixer, Michael Cohen, paid her $130,000 in exchange for her silence ahead of the 2016 presidential campaign. And, Dom, I would remind our fair listeners, Cohen over the summer pleaded guilty to campaign finance violations related to the payment and implicated Trump, saying he made the payment at the direction of the federal candidate that later became president. The adult film actress told New York magazines The Cut recently that her 60 Minutes debut marked a turning point because it proved to the country that she wasn't an idiot, and Donald Trump did just the opposite with Leslie Stahl on Sunday, Dom.
So Trump wins or gets one lawsuit thrown out, defamation, apparently political rhetoric. And then he celebrates by calling his former lover, well, I guess one shot and done may not constitute lover, but fling, calling her a horseface, a woman that he was apparently attracted to for however short of a time.
Well, rumor has it, Stormy reminded him of Ivanka, Dom.
So is he calling his daughter horseface? Is horseface? I guess that's the point. Where do we go from here? Now she comes back and starts mocking the size of his genitalia. Is this presidential discussion? Is this how it is now?
Well, the question becomes, Dom, and Eric Holder, very recently, the former Attorney General of the United States, very recently, the old, when they go low, we get high. Or as Michelle Obama said, we go high.
Oh, yeah, all right.
And Eric Holder took a differing tact, you might say. His response was, when they go low, we kick them. That's what Eric Holder had to say, Dom. But the question becomes, what is the proper tone in this elective cycle? I mean, we're 3 weeks, even though some don't know the math, 3 weeks from Election Day, Dom. What is the proper way to tone and phrase our conversations right here on the greatest radio show ever? Are we guilty of going to the gutter a little too often?
844-967-2789. Would really like to get some folks' opinions on this, regardless of your political leaning. This is, I think, the question of our age. Now, Trump has been calling people names since day one. I mean, this is just a continuation of what has already been there. I know a lot of folks were very excited that hope he could, once he gets in that Oval Office and feels the awesome power of that room, that he could pivot and perhaps become quote unquote presidential. That ain't gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. He's gotten worse. Something about the power, I think, has gotten, if it's even possible, he's gotten worse. So now the question is, what do those, guys like me who disagree with his style and his politics, how do we, make ourselves be heard? Is it appropriate for us to use the same strategies and thoughts as the president when we talk to our political rivals?
You might call it the sledgehammer approach, Dom. You know who's pretty good at that? That attorney, that third-rate attorney who represents Stormy Daniels, Michael Avenatti, I think his name. There is a story here at the Hill, Dom, we are trying to get to. Amy Parnes reports Michael Avanti's attack on the Democratic establishment are creating new friction as the party debates how abrasive an approach to take against President Trump. Hashtag not my president. Avanti, who is stoking the possibility that he could run for president, calls prominent party strategists out of touch and clueless about how to win against Trump and Republicans. Here's a quote, Dom. I think they're out of touch. I don't think they understand what's required. Avenatti, my bad. Now I'm quoting Trump's misspeak. Avenatti said in an interview with The Hill on Monday, I think they're clueless. We're not living in 2012 or 2008 or 1992 anymore. He said, you've got to engage in smash-mouth politics if you're going to beat Donald Trump. Democrats warned that Avanti is dragging their party into the gutter, and they argued that Stormy Daniels' attorney hurt the party's effort to block Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation. Here's another quote. Patty Solis Doyle, a Democratic strategist and former campaign manager to Hillary Clinton's 2008 campaign, said this in an interview, Dom. There's a difference between getting in the gutter and being tough, and I don't think Michael Avenatti understands that. This isn't a strategy. This is a spectacle, she added, and the spectacle is great for getting a lot of Twitter followers and retweets. But when push comes to shove, what's he doing for the party? Democrats question Avanti's motives during the Kavanaugh fight. Avenatti, I'm sorry, man. The president wrecked it for me. I used to say his name correctly. The lawyer represented Julie Swetnick, who in public declaration said she had witnessed Kavanaugh attending parties in the early 1980s where she said he had fondled and grabbed girls without their consent. She also alleged that at some parties, young men had lined up to gang rape young women who had become incapacitated from drinking. Now, Kavanaugh denied the allegations, and Democratic senators generally stayed away from them during the public debate over the nomination. Republicans pounced, though, arguing Trump's nominee was being victimized by a smear campaign and arguing the involvement of Avenatti proved it. A senior Democratic aide told The Hill that Avenatti is counterproductive to their efforts to stop Kavanaugh and defend Ford's credibility. He effed it all up, the aide said. Avenatti, who spent the weekend headlining events for the South Carolina Democratic Party and the Horry County Democratic Party, is unapologetic for his approach, much like you, Dom. Here's what he said. One last quote, Dom. I'm traveling around America and people are very enthusiastic about me potentially running and my approach and my message, he told The Hill. So perhaps Patty and others should venture outside the Beltway and start talking to rank and file Democrats. Well, Don, we try to do that each and every day right here on the Devil's Advocates. We open up the phone lines, 844-967-2789. What is the acceptable tone? How much bashing, how much Walker bashing, how much Trump bashing is too much bashing? At what point do we take it beyond, what's fair and appropriate, and at what point does it become, First Amendment protected hyperbole, Dom?
Horseface. Before we get to the phones at 844-967-2789, I'll wrap this little piece up. Avenatti, quote, Democrats are not going to beat Donald Trump by engaging in wishy-washy yammering ways of the past. It's never going to happen. The only way you're going to beat him is by hitting him twice as hard as he hits you. He is a classic bully, and that's how you deal with bullies. Some of Avenatti's antics have rubbed Democrats the wrong way. As an example, some criticized his suggestion last week that he wants to take on Donald Trump Jr. in a mixed martial arts fight for charity. Avenatti and Solis
That might
Doyle,
have been a bridge too far, in my own opinion, Dom.
But why? I mean, why? Why? What is it about that offer of a charity fight? It makes it a bridge too far. Is it any worse than calling people horse face or low IQ?
It's just a different. It involves conduct. It involves physicality, which is not involved in the.
So does sex with horse face. What's your point? So does tiny penis. What are you talking about? We are already here, man. But let me continue. Then we'll get back to the phones at 844-967-2789. Avenatti and Solis Doyle got into it on Twitter over the weekend after Solis Doyle penned an opinion piece on CNN in which she said the best way for the party to win back the White House was not to employ Avenatti's tactics. If you get in the gutter with Trump, no one will be able to tell the difference between the two of you, she wrote. A 3-round mixed martial arts fight between Avenatti and Donald Trump Jr. may be a spectacle to rival one of Trump's press conferences, but really, have we gone that low? In a response, he says, establishment Dems like her are the problem. They are why we continue to get beat and why we are presently in a fight for the survival of this republic. Their weak approaches are why we lost 2000, lost 2016, never got a Garland vote, etc., etc. So there we go. Where do we stand, folks? We got some callers lining up. We're going to get to you next. 844-967-2789. Here's my point. The leader of the GOP, the Republican leader, he's already brought us there. The question is, do we stay there and kick him and scratch and fight and poke out eyes and throat punch? Or do we just step back, clean ourselves off, and be very nice about it? I have a third option, Crudy. I'm going to share it with you and everybody else. When we come back, we are the Devil's Advocates. This is Real Resistance Radio. You on the phones next. 844-967-2789.
I know words. I have the best words.
Horsey McHorseface.
You know, words are less important to me than deeds.
Horsey McHorseface is coming. Horsey McHorseface and the big dreamer, Horsey.
Yes, it's true. This man has no doubt.
Absolutely a terrible thing.
JWK Management has many apartments available on the east side of Milwaukee. Currently, there's an opening just above Campari Restaurant overlooking historic Brady Street. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath with 1,500 square feet, a large kitchen, pantry, and main living space. Free washer and dryer in the building and off-street parking is available. For more information, call 608-729-1810. For your new apartment, call 608-729-1810.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
Bernie Sanders is having an early vote rally in Milwaukee, and Real Resistance Radio will bring it to you live. Tune in Monday morning, October 22nd, when the senator from Vermont takes the stage with Senator Tammy Baldwin, Congresswoman Gwen Moore, Tony Evers, Mandela Barnes, and Randy Bryce in the Wisconsin Room at the UW-Milwaukee Student Union, 2200 East Kenwood Boulevard. Doors open at 8 a.m. Live radio broadcast starts at 9:30. After the rally, bring your photo ID and head over to the Peck School for an early vote. Mandatory listening from Real Resistance Radio.
When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio, streaming on YouTube and Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the phone line's open and starting to fill up at 844-967-2789.
Your opportunity to talk a little trash or perhaps raise the dialogue to a respectable level, Dom. What do you think's going to happen? Let's get to the phones.
Cassandra from Middleton, you are first. Thanks for calling. What are your thoughts today?
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to talk about Eric Holder and his comment.
Yeah.
When they go low, we kick them. I don't think Eric Holder meant we literally kick the Republicans. What he was saying is that the Democratic Party has to be more aggressive in challenging some of the statements that the Republicans put out in the media. And we just do not fight back with our own facts and with good and really with information that's comprehensible to people. And the last thing I just wanted to say is this. I am really worried about Nancy Pelosi becoming the Speaker of the House again, because she has mentioned that she wants to adopt the pay-go philosophy. In other words, she wants a budget where whatever taxes you add, you have to cut something else in the budget. Now, the Republicans, they didn't work that way. And it's time for Democrats to understand the new game that's being played. Get your policies on the scoreboard. Don't worry about the Republicans and what they think, what the media elite thinks. Get your policies on the scoreboard, because you are not going to control Congress forever. Congress now is temporary. If the Democrats take it in November, probably in 2 or 4 years or maybe 6 years, they're going to be out. So get some scores on the board. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, first and foremost, with divided governance, don't forget Donald Trump will still be the president. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching, because the Trump supportive Republicans, or whatever they call themselves, with facts, Cassandra, I think you might be a little naive. Their arguments are not predicated on fact. And trying to argue facts against lunacy leaves us crazy in the transition. You know, unfortunately, I think we got to get down and we got to punch and counterpunch. And I'm not saying you make fabrications and lies like Republicans do. You can certainly fight with the facts, but you better come with some bumper sticker, some understandable sort of punchlines and some counter punches. It can't be a bumper sticker that's got to wrap around the whole minivan. It's something that you got to get out quickly and concisely, unlike the argument I'm making now.
844-967-2789. Thanks for the call, Cassandra. Before we get, my point is this. I'm a big fan of mirror politics. You know, when someone comes in and they're nice, I'm nice back. If someone's a little moody, perhaps I'm a little moody back. If someone's going to come in and give a lot of grief, I'm going to give a hell of a lot of grief back. What you are, I will be, plus a little bit more. That's the way I play it.
An overreactionary human being.
I'm not overreactionary at all.
Hey, I've known you 25 years.
I'm going to give you exactly what you give me, and I'm going to add a little cherry on top of it, just so you know what's going on. That's how it's going to be.
He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. You sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue.
F&A, that's what I'm talking about, rhetorically speaking, of course.
Dom, you're going to start at an 11 and crank it up to about a 15?
Right now, 844-967-2789. Pete from Florida, you are up. Welcome to the show, Pete. What do you got?
Hey, Pete.
Hey, thanks, man. Just a few things, and I like the way you guys are thinking. Just like with Trump calling Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas and making this $1 million bet. Now that he's lost the bet, the Democrats aren't calling him a welcher. I mean, for a billionaire like him, being called a welcher hurts, and hurts bad, but they won't do it. And yet, play him at his own game, just like with his new NAFTA. Start telling people what's in his new NAFTA. Sure, your jobs are still going to go to Mexico. The only difference is if the U.S. corporations that move the jobs in Mexico don't want to pay a $16 an hour wage to the Mexican workers, all they have to do is pay a 2.5% tariff, which they're all going to pay so they can keep whipsawing the jobs away from the U.S. That was Trump's wet dream. That's his son-in-law negotiating that deal. And you got to say, I mean, if Trump wasn't a member of the Lucky Sperm Club, he couldn't get a job at the drive-thru at the Burger King.
Appreciate the call, 844-967-2789. We're going to take plenty more of your calls, especially, the most vulgar ones. Just keep it FCC compliant. But quick thought, Dom. If Donald Trump is going to call my girl Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, then I think Elizabeth Warren should call Donald Trump Pork Porn Star. Kind of rhymes. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're digging, man.
It's reactionary. It's mirror politics. I got to tell you, man, I had a brief candidacy. If you'll recall, I am also a big believer in counterpunching, and I will literally kick you. Come back with us.
Mr. Trump, do not tell us that you are a friend of the working class.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
I'm going to say one thing. F*** Trump.
Pay me my money. Those are f***ing fighting words.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. But when we introduce a new stimulus, save the food, we're helping to stop food waste. Save the food. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Hey, everybody. If Scott Walker were made of cheese, would you eat him? I don't know, and I don't want to find out. That's why I listen to Real Resistance Radio.
On marijuana, unfortunately, as a public health issue and a public safety issue, I've opposed that.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, how can medical marijuana help those addicted to opioids?
There's 3 big things. There's clear consensus now that cannabis can treat pain. That is not an opinion. That is a consensus conclusion by big scientific bodies like the National Academy of Science. We also know that it can help treat the withdrawal symptoms of opioids. People, they don't want to be on enemy anymore. They want to quit, but they develop the terrible withdrawal symptoms. And now we have evidence that it can actually help heal the part of the brain that is diseased in someone who's an opioid addict. If you had to start from scratch and design a substance to help lead us out of the opioid epidemic, like in a lab, it would probably look very much like cannabis.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212. Tell him good people do smoke marijuana. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates.
Tom Perez, chair of the Democratic National Committee. Tom, I didn't know you had all the Badger roots. I got a little hashtag. I'd like to try it out on you. DNC MKE 2020, sir. What do you think? Milwaukee for the DNC, Tom.
They are one of the cities that has expressed interest. Obviously, the new arena is going to be open and running by them, and I'm sure they will put forth a very, very credible package.
Well, Tom, it's nice that the stadium will be opening up, but also last year on the east side of Milwaukee, the Devil's Advocates and WRRD opened their stations on Brady Street.
Bring it home, Tom.
Wow. Amen. Well, I stayed up all night the night before my wedding, so I went out to a lot of watering holes not too far from there.
You're supposed to skip a night between the bachelor party and the wedding, sir.
I didn't get the memo. I wish we had done this interview 30 years ago.
Making radio great again.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gostad. The Brewers beat the Dodgers last night 4-0 in Game 3 of the NLCS series. Game 4 is tonight. Brewers now lead that series 2-1. And last night's Brewers game was the first time since 1983 that the Los Angeles Dodgers were shut out in a postseason game at home. And if you don't think the fans in the stands can make a difference, there's at least one Dodgers player who disagrees with you. Outfielder Enrique Hernandez is calling out the Dodgers fans for their lack of energy last night and for chanting the backup catcher's name when starting catcher Yasmani Grandal committed his third pass ball of the series. Hernandez said last night's game didn't feel like a playoff game because of the lack of energy from both the fans and the team. Tuesday, mostly sunny and windy, highs in the mid-50s. Tonight, partly cloudy, high at 35. Wednesday, sunshine, high of 47. For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Keith Gostad.
Bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, talking about, when do you go to the gutter, Dom? Usually with you, it's in the first frame. Wanted to make an example. Right here, we got some breaking news, and we're going to get back to the phones as well. Your opinion's welcome. Just agree with me at 844-967-2789.
You don't have to agree with him.
Well, I may throw some mud at you if you don't agree with me. I might push you down in the puddle, down in the sewer, Dom, where apparently the Senate Minority Leader is currently, sticking a toe. I'm talking about Jennifer Schilling right in the state of Wisconsin. Dom, a little presser today. Molly Beck and Patrick Marley reporting a top state Democrat is accusing GOP Rep Dale Coinga of being drunk during a state budget debate 3 years ago. It says inebriated in the article. I said drunk. 3 years ago, as Coinga campaigns to join the state Senate in a district Democrats are trying to flip. That's the fifth, Dom. Senate Minority Leader Jennifer Schilling, Democrat from La Crosse, made the accusation during a Tuesday forum with Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald. I've seen him a little red-faced after lunch himself, Dom.
That guy gets red-faced anytime he has to answer a question that he's uncomfortable with.
Scott Fitzgerald, none of our candidates paid a $30,000 settlement for looking at a sign and taking it from the Capitol, Schilling said. None of our candidates have appeared on the floor after having too much to drink. Fitzy, surprised, said, oof, I don't know where to go from there.
Go down.
Coinga of Brookfield did not immediately respond to an email or a phone call. Schilling's comments coincide with campaign literature being mailed to voters in Coinga's suburban Milwaukee district by a Democratic group that highlights a $30,000 settlement Coinga paid after taking a protester sign in the Capitol. Don Johnson, you're a hero, at least of the campaign.
Not just a protester sign, an approved sign. Allowed to be there by
a permitted sign.
Permitted sign, yes, not just a.
But it was a flat sign on a curved wall.
And his training kicked in Army training, sir.
At what point would the Army training encourage him to set down his Starbucks?
He never set down the Starbucks.
The mailer also accuses Coinga of being drunk at work, referring to floor speeches Coinga made in July of 2015 after a bomb threat at the Capitol prompted some lawmakers to have beers across the street before the threat was cleared. The beer summit of sorts, Dom. The Wisconsin Leadership Committee is behind the postcard. The group recently reported to Wisconsin election officials it was spending $84,000 in online ads against Coinga and 3 other Republicans running for the state Senate. For contact information, the group listed an address and phone number belonging to the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee in Washington, D.C. After Schilling made the comments Tuesday, a spokesman for Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin retweeted 3 clips of Coinga giving speeches on the assembly floor July 8th, 2015, when he spoke in a slow and slightly slurred cadence.
Wait, so Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin retweeted those today?
Yeah.
Thank
you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, he said when given a minute and a half to speak. I always appreciate these odd balance of time with 90 seconds or 30 seconds, but I'm wasting my time right now, he said, before launching into a talk about the earned income tax credit. You know, if I was talking about earned income tax credit, I might have to be a little drunk on the floor myself, Dom. Schilling said Tuesday the matter is fair game because character matters and how you act when no one is looking and what you do. Well, everyone was looking. It was a little soused. You know, the tall and slight Dale, apparently not a big drinker.
You know,
like
I
yourself,
remember that, and I remember him being a little thick-tongued that night.
Fitzgerald pushed back, saying Coinga owned up to stealing the protester sign by paying the settlement, and a mailer accusing him of being drunk on the assembly floor is about the dirtiest kind of politics. I don't know where it came from or how you would verify that or who made that type of accusation. But you know, be careful. There are a lot of legislators who go out to lunch and come back to the Capitol, Fitzgerald said. Apparently, a lot of his other colleagues also coming back drunk, Dom. I don't think
everybody does it.
Here's what Fitzgerald ends with, sort of a veiled threat of sorts, Dom. I don't think anybody wants to go down that road. Schilling responded by pointing to footage on Wisconsin Eye. That's a fact. Fitzgerald later said Schilling's comments were outrageous and ridiculous. I don't know how Senator Schilling can be as bold as to make that statement today, Fitzgerald said. She has no proof of anything. Well, I would say Dale Coinga was about 80 proof that day, Dom.
Nice. Well, listen, anybody can look at the video, and perhaps if Brian can find it, we'll see if we can get some audio. We'll see. But I do remember, and he was certainly thick-tongued when he was speaking that night. There's no question about it. Now, you can say you don't have a blood test, you don't know. Fine, fair enough. But listen to the words that are coming out of his mouth. He doesn't sound like he's sober.
I would say Dale Coinga, all things considered, at least he's a relatively happy drunk, Dom.
Well, he's got that going for him, which is nice. Plus, he stole the sign. He stole a sign. He literally is taking away people's constitutional rights as a Republican. Doesn't that bother anybody? Yes, he should be blasted for that. I'm less concerned about him having a couple of beers before speaking. You know, character matters, whatever. The voters can decide that.
Judge not lest ye be judged, Dom.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. But when he goes down on that Capitol, it's just like the other Republicans when they had all the sign rules and the permits to protest rules, which were all ungodly, unconstitutional. Well, I thought Republicans loved the Constitution. What about the right of free speech? A permitted sign? Yeah, he should have paid. He should not be elected. He should be punished for that more than having a six-pack and getting in front of everybody on a mic. Because I have no problem with that.
844-967-2789. But you're a pro, Dom. You're very good. And being 3.5 sheets to the wind and still acting quite professionally, relatively speaking.
Relatively. 844-967-2789. Let's get back to the phones. Your opinions welcome. We'll start with Mark. Hey, Mark. Welcome back to the show. What do you got today?
Mark, how you doing, man?
Of course.
Doing okay. Speaking rhetorically, of course, you kick them in the groin and as hard as you can, and then when they drop to the ground, you step on their neck until you hear the crunch of their windpipe.
Rhetorically.
Rhetorically. But I mean,
a little rhetorical curb stomping next, boys.
The whole thing of it is that these guys fight dirty, and they are evil. And unless what was it, the old Star Trek thing? I think it was the Omega Glory. That you're fighting, if it was a whole battle, only these people thought that only good could win in a combat like that, and either McCoy or Spock responded that, that evil will win unless good is very, very careful. I mean, that you have to go after these guys and you have to be careful, but you do have to fight back. I mean, that it's like Dom brought up so the whole "send him to the morgue" quote. I mean, you have to fight as hard as they're going to fight. I'm not saying fight dirty. I'm not saying lie. But the whole problem is the truth. The truth is that Coingo was probably drunk. The truth is that he took that protester's sign, and the truth is that he probably didn't end up paying that fine out of his own pocket. He probably got enough contributions to pay that fine for him.
Apparently, help from friends and family, Mark.
Yeah, well, did he pay? Did he pay any tax on that? Because that should be classified as income, I would think. But that's on the side. But these guys are going to fight as dirty as they want to, and it's time the Democrats realize you can't just be nice to these guys. You have to fight. You have to fight as hard as they do. I'm not saying necessarily fight dirty. And there's the little lab talking, but you have to fight.
Dude up at the Capitol, I see him there occasionally. His name is Miles. And Miles went out at, I think, the very same bar across the street from the Wisconsin State Capitol. Robin Voss, Speaker of the Assembly, was out there having a cold one, and Miles poured a beer over his head. Well, now, is that a bridge too far?
That's probably a bridge too far. That's probably a bridge too far, but that...
yeah, why waste a good beer?
He wasted the beer?
Why waste a good beer? That is, that I agree with Dom there. And then that gives them ammunition like that. But if they give you a poke, you got to poke them one back.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you. I think if they poke you, you poke them twice back, and that's what I'm saying. Mirror politics plus a little bit more. And while I do love the Star Trek quotes, I'm more of a Star Wars guy. Fear is the path to the dark side, Mark. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. Fancy Brian, do we... Fancy Brian, doing some hard work in there. Do we have sound?
Yes, I have 3 different times, same night. It's July 8th of 2015. So it's 3 different segments. You only need the beginning of each one to really get the flavor for it. But they're each like maybe about 15 to 20 to 15 minutes apart, the first 2, and then an hour behind the last
one. So
he
was probably most sober on the last one.
Maybe.
Unless he had a flask in his pocket.
He seemed to have gotten a little bit more comfortable, but I'll let you hear. I'm not going to play the whole clip because they're each like 2 minutes long.
No, of course.
You need to hear that. You need to understand the flavor.
All right, here we go. This is Rep. Dale Coinga after the beer summit. Let's see. People, do you think he was inebriated?
Gentleman from the 14th, 2 minutes on tabling.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the talk about the little guy because you know what? The little guy is trying to figure out how to pay for college costs. And Republicans did something remarkable. We said that when people in their 20s, and right now when we're looking at college costs exceeding over $1 trillion, that we're going to allow more people in their 20s to buy a home, start a family, start a business, because we're doing something about it. We're capping costs by freezing tuition.
Whoa, I love you, man. I love you guys. I just want to say I love you guys, man.
If someone had asked Dale that night to say the alphabet, he would have sung it.
Let's hear the
drunks always do.
Let's hear the next one.
Gentleman from the 14th, minute and a half on tabling.
Minute and a half, thank you. I always get the balance of the time. I appreciate that. The earned income tax credit, Milton Friedman was the originator of that idea. It was a brilliant idea, and Milton Friedman's idea, as I've spoke to before with the gentleman from the...
He's smiling.
7th?
That guy in the 7th. Hey, man, I love you too, man. One more. Let's do one more. Let's keep it in the gutter. Let's play Dale Coinga after 1, 2, 10 beers. We don't know. You see. You can figure it out.
Gentleman from the 14th, minute and a half on tabling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I always appreciate these odd balance of time of 90 seconds or 30 seconds, but I'm wasting my time right now. I find it funny that the left talks about the fair share. I will remind them that the Democratic Senate, the Democratic Assembly, and the Democratic Governor of New York State has just eliminated New York AMT, which leaves down now 6 states that had the alternative minimum tax. So we're left with 1 of 6 states, really radical. And all we're doing is...
Wow, he had his fair share.
He got the acronym right. It is AMT, Alternative Minimum Tax. I thought he was talking about, like a cash machine. Like, hey, man, I spent all my money on shots. I got to go get some cash.
Cannonball.
He seemed a little drunk.
I would say yes. Having, imbibed once or twice myself and occasionally get to a level where perhaps I have had too many. I don't ever remember slurring like that.
Oh, yeah.
No,
you
really?
slur like that.
No, man, no.
Not on the radio, though, as far as I recall. But, of course, those days I'd probably have been right in the same bar with you. I got to tell you, when we've done some of those road trips, you were slurring worse than that, asking questions of John Podesta in the spin room after the first Democratic presidential debate, and you asked Podesta about marijuana policy with a sifter of tequila in your hand. And it was like a triple-double.
We're in Vegas, man.
And Podesta kind of cocked his head, and he looked at that sifter, and somehow he just sensed you weren't drinking water. Maybe it was the fat Coinga tongue you were displaying that night. Come back with us. Your call's welcome. Even you drunks in the audience, I'm talking to you too, Republicans. 844-967-2789.
Looks like somebody forgot there's a rule against alcoholic beverages.
I've not yet begun to defile myself.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. That's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Hi, this is Demi, pharmacist at Hyatt, locally owned pharmacy in the community of Milwaukee. Simplifying lives, one prescription at a time is our goal. Do free delivery of your medications to your home and at work. All your meds are brought together in one convenient dosage package individualized to your medication needs. We set up a house call with a licensed pharmacist to assist with medication management. We accept all insurance plans. To learn more about Hyatt, visit our website, HAYATRX.com.
Ever worry that the anonymous millionaires are setting the agenda for our community with little or no accountability? I do. That's why I joined Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. My fellow members and I want to build a powerful and lasting progressive movement. Together, we can help determine the agenda in our own communities. Then we work with professional organizers and a team of leading strategists to make that agenda happen. We're working on health care, economic justice, child poverty, electing progressive candidates, and more. And our Radio Active campaign supports this station and the Resistance Radio Network. So, won't you come help us build a movement?
Become a member of the Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. Go to citizenactionwy.org.
The Devil's Advocates. We drink when we toast when we drink.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, Real Resistance Radio. You can call us anytime, toll free, talk or text at 844-967-2789.
Dom, I got one pro tip for Dale Coinga. If you've had a few too many at lunch, don't read a George Will piece aloud.
No doubt. And if you don't smoke on a regular basis, Dale, don't drink that much and then try your first joint. Bad idea.
Dominic, our friend Jesse Apoyan, fine journalist at the Cap Times, has more reporting on the Republican leader over in the Wisconsin State Senate. I mean, Fitzy.
Trump. Pants. Trump. Pants.
The Trump train.
The conductor of the Trump train, I suspect that one's got a club car on it, if you know what I'm saying, Dom. From Apoyan's piece, Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald, Republican from Juneau, cast doubts on the viability of two campaign promises from Governor Scott Walker. He better have been drinking. And one from Democratic challenger Tony Evers on Tuesday. Walker has promised throughout his re-election campaign that he, the gubernator, will preserve insurance coverage for Wisconsinites with pre-existing conditions, even if the federal requirement to do so under the Affordable Care Act is struck down. With Walker's approval, Wisconsin is part of a multi-state lawsuit seeking to overturn the Obama-era health care law. A campaign spokesman promised last month that if anything were to change regarding requirements for coverage, the governor, and here's a quote, Dom, would call a special session in a heartbeat and get a bill passed to bar insurance companies from denying coverage to people with pre-existing conditions. The bill passed the Assembly last year, but was never taken up by the Senate. Democrats opposed it because it would allow insurers to charge more if a patient had a gap in coverage. Now, Assembly Speaker Robin Voss told reporters earlier this month he would like the Senate to take up the bill during a planned extraordinary session set to start November 12th. We voted on that in the Assembly. It would be great if they would pass it in the Senate, Voss said. But now we get down to brass tacks, Dom. Fitzgerald told reporters on Tuesday after a WisPolitics.com luncheon he's not sure the legislation could pass the Senate. I wouldn't rule it out because obviously it's generated a lot of heat during this campaign and the election cycle, Fitzgerald said. But I know I've got members that probably are not on board, which is one of the reasons it wasn't something that we tackled at the end of session. So effectively, Scott Fitzgerald is vocalizing the fact that Scott Walker is A, lying, and B, Republicans don't give a damn if you don't have protections against pre-existing conditions. There would not be the will to pass that out of the Republican Senate caucus.
Well, Crudy, the last sentence in this piece from our friend Jesse Apoyan at the Cap Times. Fitzgerald said the lawmakers who aren't on board are opposed to implementing mandates on insurance companies. So when you think about who does Dr. Evil work for, well, they're not working for you. They're working for the insurance companies. They don't want to put these mandates on. They don't want the Republican Senate, and I would even say you have to assume that Governor Walker knows that there is not support for this. So he's out there just jawboning. Fitzgerald says, well, if we had it, we'd have done it last session. They don't want it. They work for the insurance companies. They don't give a damn about your pre-existing conditions, just like they didn't give a damn before the Affordable Care Act. Governor Scott Walker, you can say what you want now. Did you ever propose any legislation from being a county executive or a state legislator to governor that would do anything to alleviate the issues with pre-existing conditions? I don't remember one comment or piece of legislation brought forth by any Republican regarding this.
Well, there is a lawsuit that's been brought forth by Scott Walker and Brad Schimmel that would specifically eliminate these protections from the ACA Obamacare. And let's not forget, Scott Walker has gone out of his way to ask the Trump administration to allow him to be especially harsh to the recipients of Medicaid. Dom, you and I both found this piece at Politico today. Scott Walker, in Fight for Political Life, slow walks Medicaid work rules. Now, I'm not going to get to all of this one during this segment, Dom, but this is a topic worth discussing. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker fought for years to put Medicaid recipients to work. Now, federal officials have given him most of what he wanted, but he's delaying the process for fear that changes will doom his flailing re-election campaign, say 3 federal officials familiar with the deliberations. Here's a quote from one official. Wisconsin's been stalling, said one official, adding the Trump administration has been ready to formally approve and announce the state's new work requirements for weeks. It's ended up being a lot of hurry up and wait. The Walker administration disputed the governor is slow walking the process,
sandbagging,
saying the state is actively pursuing approval and instead blamed the Trump administration for delays. There are ongoing conversations, said Julie Lund, a spokesperson for Wisconsin's Department of Health Services. We felt it's close for a while, but too close to announce, Tom. The idea that Wisconsin is stalling is unequivocally false, said Tom Evetson, the communications director for Walker, after initial publication of this article. The delays around implementing Wisconsin's strict Medicaid work rules come as many Republicans have retreated from health care on the campaign trail and as Democrats hammer the message the GOP is working to strip health protections from millions of people. Democrats have an 18-point national advantage on health care, according to a Washington Post ABC News poll released Sunday. And those who criticize Walker for hesitating contend that focusing voters' attentions on health care is likely to hurt him with independents who are expected to decide the election. The two-term governor is effectively tied with or trailing Democratic candidate Tony Evers in multiple polls. Democratic messaging on health care has already resonated with some voters in Wisconsin, where Walker supports a lawsuit to overturn the Affordable Care Act and has aggressively reined in spending on social programs, the focus of some Democratic attack ads. You know the quote, Dom. We fundamentally believe that the public assistance should be a trampoline, not a hammock, Walker said over and over again. But anyways, Dom, he's slow walking his harshness towards Medicaid recipients, but I bet he'll drop it right after the election should he win re-election. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. Come back with us. The happy hour starts right now. Perhaps a little more Walker bashing.
Is this a campaign promise, something you want to be held to?
It wasn't true. It was a Scott Walker, Scott P. Walker. I'm Scott Kevin Walker.
You haven't got your health. You haven't got anything.
So you get nothing.
We don't need to imagine the challenges our state faces. We live them every day. This is former State Representative Mandela Barnes. I'm running to be your next Lieutenant Governor. And whether it's more access to affordable health care, or clean water, or better jobs, or wanting the best schools for our kids, there's only one candidate for governor who will get results: Tony Evers. That's what Tony's done as a teacher and as state superintendent of public schools. I've seen Tony's character and his passion to do what's right for kids. I've seen Tony Evers listen to the concerns and problems of people around the state, and I've worked with him to find solutions to those problems. Isn't that what we need? 8 years is enough of Scott Walker and his failed politics of division. We need a governor who cares about all of us. We need a governor who's concerned about the next generation, not just the next election. It's time for a change. That's why Tony for Wisconsin paid for this ad.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Missing reporter, Twitter war. I'm Ann Cates. President Trump has been tweeting about the case of missing journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Correspondent Bob Costantini.
The president writes, just spoke with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who totally denied any knowledge of what took place in their Turkish consulate. He was with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo during the call and told me that he has already started and will rapidly expand a full and complete investigation into this matter. Answers will be forthcoming shortly.
A war has erupted between the president, porn star Stormy Daniels, and her attorney. Correspondent Jim Roop.
After a judge tossed out the defamation portion of Daniels' lawsuit against the president, he tweeted that he's entitled to full legal fees and, quote, now I can go after Horseface and her third-rate lawyer, end quote. Michael Avenatti, the lawyer to which the president referred, responded, quote, you are a disgusting misogynist and an embarrassment to the United States.
The death toll continues to rise as search crews pick through rubble on the Florida Panhandle. Correspondent Camilla Bernal is in one of the towns decimated by Hurricane Michael.
Mexico Beach is empty, but it is expected to change as residents will be allowed back in to assess the damage. Our teams in the area have spoken to a number of Mexico Beach residents, some who say that this is home, that they want to be here and they want to continue to build a future here, while others say that there is nothing left and that they will have to find a home somewhere else.
A banner day for Wall Street. Correspondent Steve Kastenbaum.
Few things drive stock prices up as quickly as strong earnings reports from big companies. At the closing bell on Wall Street, the Dow was up almost 548 points, more than 2%. A few days ago, we were talking about the Dow's worst day since March. Today was the Dow's best day since March. Amazon and Facebook showed strong earnings, driving the Nasdaq up nearly 3%.
The S&P 500 closed up 59 points, the Nasdaq up 215. I'm Ann Cates.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Do you love public education? Do you want to support your schools? Then you should support the people who make them work. You should support teachers and their unions. Teachers' working conditions are students' learning conditions, and when the school bell rings, it is crucial that teachers do not check their rights at the door. The ability to organize and advocate around issues that improve the quality of a teacher's workplace will increase opportunities for students and make schools safer for everyone. Stand with teachers, stand with WEAC Region 7.
Reviews.
The end of the summer saw American employers putting out the Help Wanted sign at a pace that hasn't been seen in 2 decades.
The Labor Department says not only were job openings up to more than 7 million, but hiring reached a record high. The number of available jobs also exceeded by far the more than 6.2 million people who filed for unemployment in August. The number of available jobs has swamped the number of unemployed now for 5 straight months. Hiring has also been solid, and that's continuing to push down jobless numbers to a nearly 5-decade low of 3.7%. Jan Johnson, Washington.
The Mega Millions jackpot continues to grow. The jackpot for tonight's drawing has risen to $667 million, the third largest in U.S. lottery history. The cash option favored by most winners is $380 million, but the odds of winning are 1 in more than 302 million. I'm Ann Cates.
Five9, your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy Five9s.com.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Tune in to Real Resistance Radio. Start your weekday off with the Earl Ingram Show from 6 to 8 a.m. Next, it's The Forum with Sherwin Hughes from 8 to 11. Then from 11 to 2, it's the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's the Brian Kelly Show. Then from 3 to 6, it's the Devil's Advocates. Mandatory listening. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted. The Milwaukee Common Council voted today to override Mayor Tom Barrett's veto of a measure to create an inspector general. Barrett had explained previously that he vetoed the watchdog measure over concerns that the position could be used as political interference. The veto override went through with a vote of 10-3, with Alderperson Milele Coggs abstaining. The council initially created the post to oversee the health department as it struggled with the childhood lead poisoning prevention program. Forecast for Milwaukee, mostly sunny and windy, highs in the mid-50s. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 35. Wednesday, sunshine, 47 degrees. Thursday, sunny with a high of 53 degrees. For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, we are sliding into the 5 o'clock Tuesday happy hour. I'm happy. I got a Brewers win last night. I got a Packers win last night.
Yeah.
I got some Walker bashing. To continue where we left off, Dom, we were talking about a political piece and Scott Walker, but I want to point out, at the bottom of the hour today, Ed Wall, the former corrections secretary under Scott Walker, is offering new evidence. I've got a personal email from Ed Wall from the depositions that were offered, regarding his firing from the DCI. So at 5:30 today, I will share with our fair audience new evidence of depositions from Walker administration officials. And let's just say, Dom, they're contradicting the company line.
Yeah, shocking.
That Ed Wall was fired with cause. But let's get back to this political piece. Why don't you go?
Once again, this is entitled Scott Walker, in Fight for Political Life, Slow Walks Medicaid Work Rules. Dan Diamond in Politico. I'll pick up where we left off. Democratic messaging on healthcare has already resonated with some voters in Wisconsin, where Walker supports a lawsuit to overturn the Affordable Care Act and has aggressively reined in spending on social programs, the focus of some Democratic attack ads. Walker's former request to the Trump administration last year to overhaul Medicaid included provisions that were more aggressive than those sought by other GOP states, part of the governor's effort to roll back Wisconsin's safety net programs. We fundamentally believe public assistance should be a trampoline, not a hammock, Walker said in January 2017, laying out an ambitious plan for more cuts under the Trump administration. Some of Walker's Medicaid requests were deemed impermissible by the administration. For instance, Walker sought to drug test beneficiaries, which the federal health department rejected. Federal Medicaid officials instead will permit Wisconsin to ask beneficiaries about their illegal drug use. But other measures, like requiring beneficiaries to pay toward their care, were approved by the Trump administration, which finalized the work requirements weeks ago. Medicaid's top official effectively teased the announcements last month. I'm happy to share with you today that we have finalized the terms of our next innovative community engagement demonstration, which we expect to deliver to the state very soon. Seema Verma, administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, said in a prepared remark on September 27th. Stay tuned! Nearly 3 weeks later, CMS has yet to identify the state, although multiple officials told Politico that Verma was referencing Wisconsin, and the holdup has been on Wisconsin's end. A spokesperson did not respond to questions Monday about which state Verma was referencing or about Wisconsin's request. We're finalizing the terms of a few innovative community engagement demonstrations, and we expect to have official announcements soon, the CMS spokesperson said. In Wisconsin, Walker has gestured towards healthcare issues in recent days, taking credit last week for falling premiums on the ACA marketplaces and on Monday, vowing to protect patients with pre-existing conditions, although he has supported a lawsuit to eviscerate the ACA.
I got a gesture for Scott Walker myself, Don.
But the healthcare issue has mostly flown under the radar in both his and his rival's campaign. Wisconsin's gubernatorial candidates instead have battled over infrastructure and education, Evers being the school's superintendent, providing a focal point for his campaign and for Walker's attacks. Here, as elsewhere around the country, though, voters are interested in healthcare, even if neither candidate is talking about it much, say election watchers. When we've asked voters to identify their most important issues, healthcare has been number 2, right behind K-12 education and ahead of roads and highways, said Charles Franklin, who runs the Marquette Law School poll, which last week found that Walker's was ahead by 1 point. The close race and pitched camps has meant that Walker and Evers are fighting over a thin slice of the electorate, said Brandon Scholes, a GOP strategist in the state. Any issue that comes up has to move the independents in the middle, Schultz added. The question is which issue is going to drive them most? Is it healthcare? Is it education? Is it the gas tax? The gas tax is really roads, Crudy, but I digress. In this context, Scholes thinks that Medicaid work requirements would help Walker, arguing that the state's independent voters, a mixture of working class families like Joe Lunchbucket and college grads, would be receptive to a message about personal responsibility, he said. Franklin, the Marquette pollster, is less sure if Walker's plan would boost or undermine his campaign. It's hard to tell, he said. We haven't polled on Medicaid. Democrats believe that Walker is vulnerable on health care issues. Evers' first campaign ad criticized Walker for failing to expand Medicaid through the ACA, and the Democratic Governors Association followed up with a similar ad campaign last month. If new Medicaid issues emerge, the Evers campaign plans to keep the focus on health care as a top issue for Wisconsin voters, a campaign spokesperson said. Meanwhile, healthcare organizations have loudly denounced Walker's proposed changes to Medicaid, with the Wisconsin Council on Children and Families arguing the plan could hurt local health as well as the state's booming economy because tens of thousands of residents could lose health coverage. With more people uninsured, Wisconsin's workforce would be less healthy, the council concluded. The healthcare groups also signaled they'd mobilized if Medicaid appears to be threatened, which could be a fight Walker doesn't need a few weeks before Election Day. It's not a hot topic right now, said Stephanie Harrison, head of the Wisconsin Primary Healthcare Association, who criticizes Walker's plan because she expects residents to lose coverage. If we got action from CMS, I think it would rise up to become a hot topic again during the election. Which is exactly why, Crudy, Walker is sandbagging this. If Walker gets in, he will absolutely jam this down everybody's throat. He will allow the laws to deny people with pre-existing conditions and the testing, so on and so forth. That's what Walker does.
Well, Dominic, he won't jam it down everybody's throat. If he wins re-election, he'll still have his government health care.
Yeah.
He'll just jam it down poor people's throats. And I appreciate, the Trump administration cannot often be given any credit whatsoever. But the fact that they would reject Scott Walker's ask to drug test Medicaid recipients, on some modest level, commendable of the Trump administration. And shame on you, Scott Walker, you SOB. Dom, I got a little piece here. Bill Kaplan, urbanmilwaukee.com, online daily. October surprise for Walker? Trump, ? Trade war, declining market, junk health insurance may stick to both candidates. This one's short, Dom. I'd like to throw it out there for your consideration, and that of the audience. You can always join us. Talk a little Medicaid, talk a little Medicare for all, talk a little Scott Walker and Donald Trump taking away your pre-existing condition coverage. 844-967-2789. I jump into Bill Kaplan's piece. Trump and Wisconsin GOP Governor Scott Walker are in permanent scorched earth campaign mode. However, reality is intruding. The headline says it all. Stocks post slight gains as an ugly week on Wall Street comes to a close at the Washington Post. The stock market lost nearly 1,400 points over 2 days. Fear of rising interest rates on top of soaring deficits in a Trump-initiated global trade war. Trump has a scapegoat, the Federal Reserve, led by Trump appointees. Earlier in February, the stock market plunged more than 1,000 points, the worst single-day decline in the Dow Jones average in history, according to the New York Times, as Trump said the economy was booming. Put on your seatbelts. America is in for a rough ride. The prosperity touted by Trump and Walker is fragile. Annual pay for corporate executives is skyrocketing, while wages for regular folks remains flat. Moreover, there is rising wealth inequality. The richest 5% of Americans have captured 74% of the wealth. deregulation and tax cuts for corporations and the rich are taking America back to the Great Recession. With the bear at the door, Trump and Walker engage in deception while making life miserable for regular folks. See Scott Walker's Medicaid proposals. I read on. Trump in a USA Today op-ed said, as a candidate, I promised we would protect coverage for patients with pre-existing conditions and create new health insurance options. I've kept that promise. Similarly, Walker said, we want to guarantee coverage for individuals with pre-existing conditions. Left unsaid is that the administration, in response to a GOP-led lawsuit, does not legally support the Affordable Care Act requirement that insurers cover folks with pre-existing conditions and not charge more. Walker is the circus ringmaster for the lawsuit. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Tony Evers has demanded that Walker drop the lawsuit. Moreover, the Republican option for cheaper health care is short-term insurance. It covers next to nothing, allowing insurers to exclude pre-existing conditions or charge more based on the health status or gender. Wisconsin Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin calls it junk insurance. Last week, Baldwin nearly prevailed in getting the Senate to block Trump's plan, falling short by 1 vote. Baldwin said, and here's a quote, Tom, one of the plans, short-term, sold in several states, including my home state of Wisconsin, marketed by Golden Rule Company, doesn't even have to cover hospital care on a Friday or a Saturday. So it will just be your bad luck if you happen to get sick and need health care on the weekend.
What?
And if meanness is not enough, just lie. Wisconsin's roads and bridges are crumbling with no Walker plan. Evers has said raising the gas tax 32.9% per gallon since 2006 should be an option. Walker has an ad on gas station pump screens claiming Evers would raise the tax by $1. That's a lie. Unlike Walker, President Reagan showed real leadership in raising the federal gas tax in 1982. The real October surprise is more voters connecting the dots. Bill Claplin writes this guest column from D.C. On behalf of the UrbanMilwaukee.com. I think Scott Walker might be in real trouble, Dominic. I'm just saying.
I hope so.
The lies.
We've been
bad
talking about this
up to him
for years and years, and you see how desperate he's becoming.
Did you see he's now trying to appropriate Tony Evers' proposal, 2/3 of the state aid, putting it back? Now it's a Scott Walker election year proposal. No, Tony didn't say it. I said it. See how cool and liberal Scott Walker trying to catch a blue wave right
until he gets into office.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. Got some breaking news for you at 5:30. Your call's next, 844-967-2789.
You wouldn't hire me to be a neurosurgeon. You wouldn't hire me to run condos. You wouldn't hire me to run HP. You probably wouldn't hire me to run the United States Senate. You know, I'm using the talking points of the Democrats.
Listen to the words of the Reverend Willie Briscoe.
Scripture tells us in Luke 17:3-4, if your brother or sister sins against you, rebuke them, and if they repent, forgive them. Those words are so important to our community because we know that men and women who have served time in jail must be given an opportunity to rebuild their lives. That's why we should be thankful that our Senator, Tammy Baldwin, has sponsored the Ban the Box bill, so when someone seeks a job, they do not have to check a box that says they've been in jail on their initial job application, so they can be judged on their character. And the best way for us to thank Tammy Baldwin is to get out and vote, because sitting on the sidelines is not an option if we care about our community.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, candidate for Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Tammy Baldwin for Senate.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi folks, this is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009. Or visit cclmanagement.com today.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing. Hashtag Walker bashing.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio, streaming on YouTube and Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and on the phones at 844-967-2789.
And Tom, don't forget, for our audience, we've got a scoop coming at about 5:30. Ed Wall, former Secretary of Department of Corrections under Scott Walker, has new evidence to offer from depositions from the Walker administration. I would just say their prior statements publicly, Dom, have been a contradiction of the testimony given under oath.
Well, I can't wait to hear it, Curdy. Talking about this healthcare, there's a piece in the Washington Post today. James Homan, Kathleen Sebelius stumping with Democrats, highlights the rapidly changing politics of healthcare. And, of course, she was in town, I guess that was, yesterday with Mandela Barnes?
I think she was in Milwaukee with Mandela and then went to an event in Madison with Tony Evers.
In an interview Monday afternoon after a campaign stop at a manufacturing plant on the outskirts of town, Scott Walker blasted Sebelius and promised that he will make sure people with pre-existing conditions are still protected if the law got struck down.
I wish someone would just ask the natural follow-up question. How? How?
He noted, Crudy, that she was among the Obama administration officials who promised people would be able to keep their doctors if they liked them. It is only fitting that they would bring her in to lie about our record here, said Walker. My wife is a type 1 diabetic. My mother is a survivor of breast cancer. My brother has a heart condition. Like a lot of families in Wisconsin, it's personal to me. The governor said Obamacare is still a huge mess and that you can keep some of the good parts but still get rid of most of the law. Walker mostly focuses his stump speech on highlighting the low unemployment rate, which he calls the Wisconsin comeback. He warns that Democrats would raise taxes if they regain power and restore the union power he rolled back in a way that would make the state less economically competitive. They want you to be distracted by that debate, meaning the pre-existing condition debate. Walker said during his event in Milwaukee, they want to talk about that because they want you to ignore the failure of Obamacare, particularly if you're a small business owner or a family farmer or anyone buying your health insurance on the individual market. Obamacare has failed you. Now, I'll stop right there. I buy my insurance on the individual market. I have not been impacted negatively by the Affordable Care Act.
Nor I, and I am a provider of a small group coverage package for my employees, at least here at the day job, Dom. Sorry I can't help you guys in Milwaukee yet, but I will tell you, I mean, it's been insurance roulette, but it was insurance roulette before Obamacare, and my daughter, who's still at age 24 on my health insurance, I think she likes Obamacare, and my family, who can now insure my son with a pre-existing condition, and we could not do that before Obamacare, Dom. We like Obamacare just fine, just for the record.
Well, and instead of trying to destroy the law, what have you done to make it better? What have you done to streamline it? Of course, because this is all just, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, the Republicans are all in the insurance companies' pockets, right? That's why Fitzgerald doesn't have the vote in the Wisconsin State Senate to pass whatever legislation Walker is talking about to protect people with pre-existing conditions. There is no path to get there other than the current law on the books, the Affordable Care Act. To my looking at this, Crudy, tell me I'm wrong.
You are only wrong like 40% of the time, my friend, but this time you're not wrong.
Yes.
Dom, is that all of that article? I've got a John Nichols piece I wanted to throw out for your consideration.
Yeah, there's more to it, but it just kind of reinforces it. You cannot believe anything Scott Walker says about pre-existing conditions and health care. He hasn't seen the light. He's seen the poll numbers, as Mandela Barnes is quoted.
Dom, I'd like to throw one more in the Big Fat Liar column. Let's throw your girl, Leah Buchmer, out there. Leah Buchmer is peddling Donald Trump's snake oil, according to our friend John Nichols at the Cap Times and The Nation. Donald Trump and Republican candidates he is struggling to shore up in the election are so afraid of the momentum in favor of Medicare for all that they're now lying about this practical, economical, and morally necessary health care reform. It is always troubling when a president lies. It is also troubling when the media amplifies those lies. But the fact that the USA Today published a repurposed set of partisan talking points from the president as an op-ed piece last week under the scorchingly dishonest headline, Democrats, Medicare for All, plan will demolish promises to seniors, should be read as evidence that the movement to replace healthcare profiteering with the single-payer healthcare system is winning. The president and his partisan mandarins are agitated about the momentum that the movement for Medicare for All has gained in recent years. So agitated that they're making up arguments against a reform that the August Reuters Ipsos survey found 70% of Americans now support. That includes 52% of Republicans. With their desperate lies about Medicare for All, Trump and his fellow Republicans are inviting a debate that they will lose. Trump's opinion piece was nothing more than a rehash of the frantic line of attack that Republican strategists have been spinning out for the party's candidates in congressional races around the country. What did Leah Buchmer say? Senator Baldwin's plan is going to gut everything, ranted the right-wing state senator. Buchmer hit a fever pitch as she turned towards Baldwin and claimed, under her plan, Medicare goes away. This is an outrageous lie, writes John Nichols. But Baldwin did not make the audience wait for the fact-checkers to call out Buchmer. The senator settled the matter immediately by administering a dose of logic. Leah Buchmer, unfortunately, thinks the expansion of Medicare gets rid of Medicare, explained Baldwin. There's more to John Nichols' piece as well. There's more to this show, including a big scoop from Ed Wall. Stick around, more Devil's Advocates, the happy hour. It continues right here on Real Resistance Radio. Keep it locked.
Nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated. People have worked on healthcare for many years. It's a very complicated situation.
That makes no sense.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Here's how you get them. If someone invites you for a cocktail, you bring them beer. If someone invites you to dinner, you bring a casserole. That's how you make friends. That's the Wisconsin way.
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, president of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
On marijuana, unfortunately, it's a public health issue and a public safety issue. I've opposed that.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, how can medical marijuana help those addicted to opioids?
There's three big things. There's clear consensus now that cannabis can treat pain. That is not an opinion. That is a consensus conclusion by big scientific bodies like the National Academy of Science. We also know that it can help treat the withdrawal symptoms of opioids. People, they don't want to be on them anymore. They want to quit, but they develop the terrible withdrawal symptoms. And now we have evidence that it can actually help heal the part of the brain that is diseased in someone who's an opioid addict. If you had to start from scratch and design a substance to help lead us out of the opioid epidemic, like in a lab, it would probably look very much like cannabis.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212. Tell him good people do smoke marijuana. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org. Josh Call, the candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General.
Do you think voter ID had a suppressive effect, not on 100 voters, but on thousands of voters and perhaps tipped the election to Donald Trump?
This is an issue that came up at our trial. And first of all, I should thank you guys because we actually introduced into evidence the recording of you interviewing Dale Schultz, who was talking about the passage of the voter ID law. That was one of our pieces of evidence.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted. 2 months ago, candidate for governor Tony Evers proposed restoring the state's commitment to cover 2/3 of public school costs. Scott Walker thinks it's such a good idea, he's now proposing the same thing. Walker mentioned the proposal on a conservative radio show yesterday, but did not say how much it would cost or how he would pay for it. The election is 3 weeks from today. To get more information on voting, go to myvote.wi.gov. The city of Milwaukee is looking for people to work at the polls on Election Day. For more information on that, go to city.milwaukee.gov/help Milwaukee vote. The Ramada Hotel at 6th and Michigan in downtown Milwaukee has closed for good. Marquette University now owns the property and plans to demolish the 7-story building. The school also owns several properties adjacent to that site. For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Keith Gosted.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a Metallica-driven show of sorts. Dom's got concert tickets. The rest of us, we just got sore ears. And Dom, I got a big juicy scoop for our audience.
Corey, I just gotta say, I know it's loud, but if it's too loud, you're too old, man.
Get off
down
my
for
grass,
what?
you kids! I got a big juicy scoop for our audience right now. Dom, Ed Wall releases the unpublished chapter of his best-selling book, Unethical Life in Scott Walker's Cabinet and the Dirty, Dirty Side of Politics.
Dirty.
New details provide proof that Scott Walker and Brad Schimmel are lying about what happened when they decided to destroy Ed Wall's career. And Dom, I've got excerpts from the yet-to-be-published chapter released. And I'm not saying exclusively to us, but we're reporting it first. We're going to lay the scoop on you right now. In this unpublished chapter, Wall goes into detail regarding the corrupted state personnel appeal system that forced him into a situation where the only people who would be allowed to hear from him and judge his credibility were 3 of Governor Scott Walker's political appointees, serving the Attorney General of the same political party. Walker merely wanted Wall and his story to disappear because of his political exposure with Lincoln Hills. Here's a quote, Tom. In the past few weeks, the Walker administration has continued to lie about what happened to make me leave a job I love with the Department of Justice, said Ed Wall. To be very clear, I did not violate open records laws. I am releasing this final chapter to provide details about what really happened to me when Walker and Brad Schimmel decided it was time for me to go. Here are the details provided by Ed Wall to yours truly, Devil's Advocates. And now to our fair audience, Dom, I'm going to excerpt the unpublished chapter, and it starts with depositions, Dom. Excerpts from depositions of Walker administration officials. Excerpt 1 from the unpublished chapter describes the deposition by attorney Lester Pines, he's a good guy, of a Deputy Attorney General Andy Cook with regards to the DOJ intentionally violating the open records laws and trying to create a case against Wall for suggesting someone evade the open records laws. Attorney Lester Pines also examined the issue involving the release of the records to the press in violation of public record laws. So when Brad Schimmel and Scott Walker made this case against Ed Wall, this excerpted deposition testimony will demonstrate they did so in an illegal fashion and they knew it was wrong when they were doing it. Lester Pines asked the question, and this document, Exhibit 19, was a document that was generated in the course of the disciplinary proceedings with regard to Mr. Wall, correct? And the assistant AG Cook says, correct. Lester Pines. And you're aware of a requirement in the open records law that a person be given notice about a release of documents that are generated during a disciplinary proceeding, correct? Cook's response, correct. Lester Pines asked, and Mr. Wall wasn't given notice of this, was he? Cook's response, no. Lester Pines, before it was released, Cook's response, no. So this little excerpt from depositions and from the unpublished chapter of Ed Wall's book demonstrates that the AG's office, when they gave this to the press, when they put this cover story out there for the media, they did so in violation of open records laws. I read on. In this exchange, the Deputy Attorney General admitted under oath that the DOJ had intentionally violated open records laws, which he was aware of not once, but twice in an effort to influence public opinion. Now I read on from excerpt 2, this again from Ed Wall's unpublished chapter, this refuting the accusations against Ed Wall that he somehow violated open records law or, said, go shred the evidence. I read excerpt 2. So naturally, my interpretation of what a public record would have had everything to do with the manner with which I sent the document and the comments I made. However, it would turn out that Cannell, the third in charge of the DOJ and senior counsel to the Attorney General, did not really care about what my intentions were, and he also apparently did not fully understand the open records laws either. Now we've got excerpts from the deposition, this one made by Connell, and he'll identify himself. Bear with me, audience. Lester Pines. Okay, but you are the special counsel to the Attorney General in the state of Wisconsin, right? Connell corrects him. Senior counsel.
Oh.
Lester. Senior counsel. Excuse me. Connell. That's okay. Lester Pines. And in that capacity, you are familiar with the public records laws of the state of Wisconsin. Connell, I would say, a good working knowledge, as well as folks I turn to when I have specific questions. Lester Pines. Are you aware that a draft document is not a public record, correct? Connell. The law in this area is somewhat in flux, and given the things I work on, there's been some cases in this area recently about drafts dealing with the Wisconsin idea. Let's not forget, Scott Walker tried to remove the Wisconsin idea. I read on. There have been some cases in this area recently about drafts dealing with the Wisconsin idea. I seem to remember recently from Dane County Circuit Court, and I haven't read in a while. That sounds right, Mr. Pines, but I'm not. That sounds like, I don't think you're trying to trick me, but that sounds correct. But I don't know that I would agree with that for sure without doing some research. I mean, this sounds like a man who's thoroughly confused, Dom.
Yeah. I thought he said he had good knowledge.
And people he could ask, but apparently no opportunity to phone a friend during depositions, Dom. So Lester Pines presses on. And I'm not trying to trick you, but the issue of what's a draft and what isn't a draft is sometimes difficult to determine, correct? That I would agree with in light of the state of the law. So now Ed Wall editorializes between excerpts. There you have it. Not only could the Attorney General's primary advisor not determine what was a draft and what was not, but he would have had to do some research to make a determination. Yet Brad Schimmel and his appointees drew their own conclusions out of law they didn't really understand and used it as a pretext to end my career. And now I bring excerpt number 3, Dom. From the deposition of Governor Scott Walker's Chief of Staff, Rich Zipperer. Now, understand, Ed Wall sent the letter to Rich Zipperer. Ed Wall said, hey, once you see this draft, if you want to shred it, go ahead and shred it. And Walker's Chief of Staff took it back to the boss and said, hey, Eureka, we've got it. This is what we need to fire Ed Wall. He has
told me to destroy documents.
Told me to destroy public records. Except maybe he didn't. According to the deposition in the excerpts here from the unpublished chapter of Ed Wall's book, Unethical, I read from the excerpts from the deposition of Governor Scott Walker's Chief of Staff, Rich Zipperer. Lester Pines, again the questioning attorney. Take a look at the first paragraph on the letter from Mr. Wall to you, DOJ E90, Evidence 90. Zipperer, DOJ E90. Lester Pines, can you review that? Take just a moment to review that paragraph. Zipperer, sure. Witness examines document. Lester Pines, all right. Have you had a chance to review it? Zipperer, more or less, yes. Lester Pines, did you believe that Mr. Wall was directing you to shred the document? Zipperer, no. So this has been the accusation against Ed Wall. This is what cost a man his career. This accusation made by Scott Walker's Chief of Staff that Ed Wall directed him to destroy a public record. And we have learned from these excerpts that the people advising Brad Schimmel and Scott Walker really don't understand the context of the law.
Right.
They broke the law according to Excerpt 1. They did not give Ed Wall notice that information, public records about him were being released to the media, but that was the politically expedient thing to do. And we now know from Excerpt 3 that Walker's Chief of Staff, Zipperer, the one making the accusation when he got held accountable in sworn testimony, depositions, completely contradicted the rationale for firing Ed Wall. Just saying. Now, he's got one final statement here, and, you know, we've got the chapter down. We can share it with the audience, but I'm going to read this final statement for the sake of the audience right now. It all boiled down to the simple fact that the person receiving the note at the center of my termination did not believe I was instructing him to shred the document, despite what they would let play out in the media, without so much as a word in defense. Connell and Cook, who initially claimed that I was directing Zipperer to shred the document, now testified behind closed doors that I hadn't directed anyone to do anything, but they would not say that to the press. They also testified that the draft documents were not releasable, and my document was a draft as Zipperer clearly understood it and admitted as much. Yet Schimmel said that he had learned that I had directed someone to shred a document that he would portray as a public record, despite it being a draft. So, with all of that, why wouldn't the DOJ even ask the person receiving the note if they felt they were being directed to shred a public record, ? Because it would have interfered with their mission. In fact, the DOJ never interviewed Zipperer or anyone else in their, air quotes, investigation. Now, if you'd like to read the unpublished chapter, again, the book's called Unethical, And you can find the unpublished chapter. You can read it for yourself, unethicalbook.com. And Ed Wall has become something of a friend.
Wow.
Once again, the full title of that book, Unethical Life in Scott Walker's Cabinet and the Dirty Side of Politics. This is the unpublished chapter we have read excerpts from. And it seems to completely contradict the lies being spewed.
Now,
by
these
the
are
governor of the state of
depositions.
Wisconsin.
These are depositions. These
Sworn
gentlemen
depositions
are under oath. So
But-
what they say under oath in a deposition is not what they've been saying in public.
But these are depositions under oath behind closed doors. This was not for public
consumption.
Apparently, Dom. They thought they could keep this secret from the public. But that's where the devil's advocates come in. So there it is, folks.
That's dirty, dude. I mean, that is just absolutely terrible.
And you think that the governor of the state of Wisconsin plays by the rules? You think he's a fair player in this?
So when we talk about what
Absolutely
the tenor should be, what the tone should be, we need to understand what we're dealing with. A guy that has a great tenor and tone and is a real all-shucks, nice kind of guy is doing terrible, dirty, illegal, misleading things that wrecks a man's career, and he looks at you and smiles and says, well, I'm a preacher's kid and I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm not worried about getting in the gutter with these people.
Now compare that with the way Republicans reacted to the accusations against Brett Kavanaugh. No, they're false. What a terrible thing that's happened to this man's beautiful family.
Well, yeah, innocent until proven guilty. Trump's saying the same thing about Saudi Arabia today.
Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates. Come back with us. One last segment for your phone calls, 844-967-2789.
But with the Walker administration, particularly with the governor, everything is about deniability. And that's what they're trying to do. They, oh, he never saw it. That's what they'll say about everything.
No, I'm going to stay for a while. How about that? Freedom. I'm an Eagle Scout.
Man, come on. I had a rough night, and I hate the f***ing Eagles, man.
Hi, Resistance Radio listeners. This is Kim Schrader, the president of the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association. We are the 4,600 educators who make Milwaukee's public education system possible. MTA members are the guardians of public education because every single day we are fighting to strengthen and protect public schools our students deserve. MTA educators are leading the fight in Milwaukee public schools for smaller class sizes, more recess, physical education, art, and music opportunities for every child in MPS. MTA educators are the champions for healthier school meals, positive discipline practices, equitable schools, and schools that partner with parents. MTA members are the guardians of public education, and we are proud to teach all children, regardless of their zip code. To learn more, follow us on Facebook at the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association.
I'm Andy Buck, Field Representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by skilled workers who care about safety, training, and finishing strong. Workers who are reliable and ready on demand. Let IUPAT provide the people power that you need. You'll feel confident the job is finished right. Connect at IUPATDC7.com and finish strong.
Bernie Sanders is having an early vote rally in Milwaukee, and Real Resistance Radio will bring it to you live. Tune in Monday morning, October 22nd, when the senator from Vermont takes the stage with Senator Tammy Baldwin, Congresswoman Gwen Moore, Tony Evers, Mandela Barnes, and Randy Bryce in the Wisconsin Room at the UW Milwaukee Student Union, 2200 East Kenwood Boulevard. Doors open at 8 a.m. Live radio broadcast starts at 9:30. After the rally, bring your photo ID and head over to the Peck School for an early vote. Mandatory listening from Real Resistance Radio.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio. Last segment of the day. So if you've got something to say, now is your time at 844-967-2789.
And Dominic, I have just push send. I have put up the document provided to this fine program by Ed Wall, the new evidence, the excerpts from the unpublished chapter of the book Unethical. There is a link to the chapter, and there are the excerpts that I have just published on the Devil's Advocates Facebook page. I'm not saying we're the only ones that have this information, but you heard it here first, people.
Let's get to the phones. Once again, that's 844-967-2789. Wisco, Paul, you're up. Hey, Paul, what do you got today?
Thanks for taking my call, Devils. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Hey, I've been out walking doors for Sarah and Josh on the weekend, and while I'm doing it, I asked about Walker, and most of the responses I get are they're sick of him and his life, so that's a positive. And also, as I drive around the southern Wisconsin and so forth, I do not see the Walker signs either. So one can only hope, and I'll keep walking doors, and I'm pretty motivated to get rid of Scott.
Wow, Paul, I got to ask you. I mean, have you done this before? Have you gotten this politically involved, not just to go vote, but to actually go and knock on doors for people? Is this a standard operation for you, or is this something new?
No, it's not standard operation. I'm just we just need a change, and I'll tell you, the big motivator for me started out at the roads. You can't leave the infrastructure fall apart like this, and that started me. And then I started listening to the Devils, and the deeper I got into Walker, the more disgruntled you become. And the other thing is the lies. He told union guys he wasn't going to do. He was going to fix the roads, and he didn't do that. And I forget, but I think
he wasn't interested in. He wasn't interested in right to work, and he wasn't going to roll back the prevailing wage. And of course, he did those things, Paul.
Correct. And I'm just sick and tired of all them lies. And another thing is you have they're going to be doing the boundaries here in 2020.
Well,
and
the redistricting.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that right.
That's okay.
But yeah, and that's going to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You need at least you need some kind of split government. I don't think there's any way the districts are drawn up now. You'll get the assembly back. There's a possibility. Hey, but I might add, the lady that you had on yesterday running for Senate against
Chris Marion.
Yeah.
Going against Howard Markline.
Yeah, I see that Merkline. I live in the Madison TV area, and I see his ads on TV, and I just look at my wife and I go, "It's all lies. He's running as a Democrat. He's not doing nothing about the internet. He's not doing nothing about health care, roads. But that's his campaign. So that's the other thing I do tell people. Hey, you got to watch out, because Walker it basically tells lies. And these guys are almost running as a conservative Democrat. So, hey, with that, I'm going to keep walking right up until Election Day. And
all right.
Hope I get to celebrate. So, thank you, guys.
Well,
and
thank you, Paul.
Keep up the good work.
All right, man. You too. Appreciate your calling and your listenership. It's a great thing to be motivated like that, Paul. Really appreciate it. One thing I do wonder, when we say, these politicians, they lie. These politicians lie. Well, and then the follow-up is, and they're all the same. If you're engaged and you're involved and you listen to this show, we can articulate specifically what the lies are, what they have been, and presumably what he's going to lie about in the future. There is a track record. There are documentations. There's been investigations. These things are not up for discussion. Scott Walker has specifically lied about some of these issues, and to engage with Republicans or conservatives or even independents, we have to be more articulate than just say he lies. We need to articulate for everybody what they're lying about and why it matters.
It wasn't true. It was a Scott Walker, Scott P. Walker. I'm Scott Kevin Walker.
Yeah, don't forget the baby mama, the Walker baby.
I would say you must be prepared, because he's a big fat welder down. He's got no qualms. Whatever works, whatever he needs to say. Now, my mama raised me better than that. I would have pangs of conscience, but that assumes one has a conscience. And I'm not clear that Scott Walker does. I'm not clear that he knows shame. Because if he did, Dom, he would have expanded Medicaid. I mean, as a preacher's kid, that is the most indefensible position he has taken yet as the governor of the state of Wisconsin. I mean, it's fiscally imprudent to not take over $1 billion in Medicaid expansion money. I mean, we're still paying for Medicaid. We still take federal dollars to the tune of about 30% of our budget. So it's not like he cut off the federal dollars. He just didn't want the federal dollars from the black president. But the failure to expand Medicaid is inhumane. It is indefensible, and it's downright, as a policy choice, it's stupid.
Well, and the Republicans are losing the health care discussion right now. That's why you see Walker looking into the camera so earnestly and saying, hey, all my relatives have pre-existing conditions. I would never, not make sure everyone in this state is covered with their pre-existing conditions. And then at the very same day today, Cruda, we find out that the Senator Fitzgerald does not have the votes to make any changes. So if Walker and the Republicans are successful in their lawsuit with Texas and a bunch of other states to roll back the ACA and the pre-existing conditions, people will be without health care. That is just a fact.
Now, Dominic, I don't want to be inhumane myself. I understand Scott Walker's wife's got a pre-existing condition, but boy, wouldn't it be a crying shame if Scott Walker lost the governor's office, and of course he sold off his house, so he doesn't have a residence, and he's untrustworthy, so he's almost nearly unemployable outside of the political arena. I could just see the man out there by the interstate panhandling for change.
Well, Crudy, it might be a little bit less than what he's used to, but you know what really helps those pangs of conscience? A big sack of money. That helps you just kind of shove it down and tap it down and keep it down, way down deep in your belly, and let the stress make your hair get lost.
Now, some say, a clean conscience makes for a soft pillow, but in Scott Walker's case, a sack full of cash makes for the softest of pillows. Well, he'll have some sort of golden parachute. He won't have to suffer through much. There'll be a Fox News job or perhaps a think tank. He'll land on his feet. Don't worry about Scott Walker. I certainly won't. But want to thank our fine guest today, Mark Pocan, Congressman Mark Pocan. Got a big event coming up on Monday. Bernie Sanders going to go live from the rally. I hope you all tune in. On behalf of Tammy Baldwin, Tony Evers, Mandela Barnes, Randy Bryce, they're going to be advocating Medicare for all. And just for Leah Buchmer's sake, expanding Medicare is not the destruction of Medicare. Just thought we'd get that out there on the record. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for listening. Do it again for you tomorrow on the radio. Go rock out, little buddy. Enjoy the Metallica.
Saudi Arabia, and I get along great with all of them. They buy apartments from me. They spend $40 million, $50 million. Am I supposed to dislike them? I like them very much. If I were to guess, I have one name in mind.
Horsey McHorseface.
She would not be my first choice, that I can tell you.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Hey, everyone. It's your nominee for Lieutenant Governor, Mandela Barnes. I know I don't need to tell you what's at stake with this election, but I want to talk to you about my friend and running mate, Tony Evers. Now, I've gotten to know Tony over the last couple months as we've crisscrossed the state. I've seen his resolve and his dedication